Finals, ESPN's Vince Carter describes how the Warriors and Steph Curry can cope with the defensive pressure of Marcus Smart and the Celtics.
Put them in pick and roll to get a switch, or make them fight over to at least give Steph a chance to keep Marcus Smart on his hip a little bit. So I just think, yes, Marcus Smart is going to be the dictator of a lot of things, good or bad, in this series.
Vince Carter on Key J and Max. The NBA Finals are on ESPN Radio and ABC TV. Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher says his public feud with Alabama coach Nick Saban is over. Fisher says he and Saban spoke before this week's SEC meetings, and they're now focused on trying to fix the problems in college football. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray on the practice field today during the team's voluntary offseason program. He did not attend OTAs last week. And Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs East Final tonight in New York. The Rangers hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Feeling great starts with a great shave. And great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. And for a limited time only, capture your Barbasol Jurassic World collector cans before they're gone.
If you having take problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. That's right.
And welcome into a Wednesday edition of After Further Review. Matt Musso and Mario Jerez filling in for the vacationing Matt Moscona. Alondra Villarreal and Paul O'Neill on the other side on the audio and video boards. Jam-packed 3 hours ahead for you. We're going to talk a lot of SEC and LSU football as the SEC meetings wrap up today in Destin, Florida. At least the coaches are heading back. We'll talk to Scott Rabalais from The Advocate at 3:30. He's been there for the last couple of days. Covering it, and I mean, there's so much to get to from that event, whether it be the mess that is the scheduling formula that they're trying to work out, or NIL and the transfer portal, or Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. There's just a lot that has happened in Destin over the last couple of days, and we're gonna talk a lot about it here today. Of course, we'll also talk some LSU baseball as the Tigers are set to depart for Hattiesburg, Mississippi here this afternoon. They'll practice there at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Jay Johnson met with the media earlier today. He'll meet with the media again tomorrow. So plenty of LSU baseball to talk about as well. Mario, how are you?
I'm well, Musso. Not doing as well as Hester, I don't think, who's vacationing. Also, Moscona having a pretty good time, hopefully. But doing well, man. Got a lot going on in the world of sports. Not just with the games that are in the here and now, with the finals and baseball, but we're inching closer and closer to football season, man. Now in the month of June, soon it will be July, and then we'll have preseason games. I'm starting to get pumped up for the fall.
Yeah, and hey, man, look, I'm with you on the vacationing thing. Not doing as well as those guys, but it is June 1st, which means we're less than 25 days until I get to take my vacation. So we've started the countdown officially now there.
Where you going, man? You going to go join all these guys in Destin?
Actually, I'm going. Yeah, it's exactly where I'm going.
Wow.
It's for the family beach trip to Destin. That is 100% accurate. 100. Now, when I'm there, of course, there won't be any SEC spring meetings going on, but that is what's going on there now. And I wanted to start with the scheduling formula because, I mean, it seems very split. I mean, any article you read about it, any interview you listen to about it, or whoever's talking about it, it seems pretty split between the top of the league and the bottom of the league when it comes to the new formula for scheduling. Obviously, the one you have now just isn't good enough, and adding Texas and Oklahoma, you're going to have to change it in general. But the 6-1-1 formula, it's not good regardless. But there's so many factors that go into it. To keep it as simple kind of as we can, just understand that they're trying to decide between an 8-game league schedule with a 1-7 formula where you'd have one permanent and rotate 7 other opponents. By the way, divisions are gone when talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Divisions have been scrapped. Pods have been scrapped. It's just you take 16 teams in the league with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. You either have a 1-7 for an 8-game where, again, one permanent, 7 rotating, or a 3-6 where you have a 9-game schedule, 3 permanents, and 6 rotations. What it does, though, ultimately, both models allows you to play every team in the conference every 4 years, as opposed to, say, LSU didn't go to Missouri, well, until the COVID year, but that wasn't even the scheduled year they were supposed to go, and Missouri was in the league already in 2012. Or Florida and Alabama playing in the Swamp last year was the first time they met in the regular season in 10 years. It eliminates that, but there's a lot to go on, a lot to go around with this, and the league seems pretty split on it.
Yeah, and I bet the coaches, like individual coaches, are probably split on this too, and they haven't come out on the record and said what they really think of it, at least not most of them, but they did say that Sankey presented each one of these models to them, and they have a lot to kind of figure out here, but both of these models really interesting. You have the 8-game model with the teams having just one permanent conference opponent, and that's going to be favored by some schools that want to play that extra non-conference game. And then you have the 9-game model with the 3 permanent opponents, and a lot of people might favor that because it would keep those traditional rivalries still kind of alive. And I know opinion kind of splits there, but there are people that do value those games, and I'm sure there's some benefit to the programs too if you go by like kind of a case-by-case basis here. So a lot to figure out, but at the end of the day, you are going to eliminate divisions, and you are going to eliminate these scenarios where you go all these years without playing a certain opponent. So that will be cool too, I guess, but certainly still a lot to figure out. And like you said, seems like they're pretty split so far.
So from what I've gathered, and we'll ask Scott Rabalais when he's here at 3:30, kind of what he's heard ear to ground in Destin. But from what I've gathered, it seems that the top of the league favors the 3-6 model more and the 9-game schedule more, and the bottom of the league favors the other. It feels like maybe the 9-game is the route that they will eventually go whenever this is all said and done, because for one reason, what you said, traditional rivalries or even secondary rivalries, like you can save an Auburn, Georgia, or a Tennessee, Alabama, or maybe even an LSU, Alabama in that regard. But also, it's just better for the league. I mean, a 9th game is going to lead to more revenue for the conference, and that's ultimately what all this is about, right? You're looking at adding Texas and Oklahoma for those reasons. A 9th game does the same thing. It eliminates that bye game, which saves you $500,000 to $1 million there, right? Not having to pay South Alabama to come in here and take their licks in the third week of November, right? And nobody really wants to see that. But from a TV perspective of it as well, I mean, think back to the COVID year where you played the 10-game conference schedule. It was the most watched of SEC. Now, a lot of that also could have to do with, man, it was COVID. You were starved for sports, and you were going to watch anything that was on TV. But it was more competitive games week in and week out. I've wanted them to go to 9 games for a while. I think that's really intriguing, but you do run into some issues with that. And you mentioned not a lot of coaches have spoke on the record about it. One of them did, and the one that did has a pretty powerful voice, and that's Nick Saban. And what Nick, so obviously making it equitable is very important too for the top half of the league and the bottom half of the league. But Nick also brought up the playoff. And I kind of disagree with him in a way, or I was surprised that it was this take that he had. So he mentioned with a 9-game schedule, at minimal, you're going to play probably 5 top 15 teams. And he said that's not just our team, that's like anyone in this league. It's going to be that good, that competitive. What does that do for the playoff? Whereas, okay, you're subjecting yourself to another game. Mm-hmm. If you lose 2, but you have a really good team, maybe somebody in another league goes undefeated and sneaks into the playoff that way. See, I wasn't even looking at it like that. I was looking at it as 9 games is going to bolster your resume even more.
Yeah, I think it's worth whatever sacrifice that you're kind of insinuating that you would potentially have to make. I see what you're saying there, having to kind of cannibalize yourself potentially. But I also think kind of the lower tier teams in the SEC, like the Missouris of the world, they might be more in favor of this 8-game conference schedule because they want more wins potentially to get themselves even bowl eligible. So I'm sure they care about all the revenue and all that stuff. And ultimately, I think it's hard to argue that the quality of like the sport won't be made better by this kind of thing. I mean, I broadcasted games in Spanish, and I don't love having to go play like the Northwestern states of the world. No offense to our guy, Tyler Moody, who does a good job on the radio broadcast over there. But I think you also got to consider the other schools in the SEC that kind of value those additional wins towards the end of the season, and they might be more in favor of that model. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of divvy all this up and where they ultimately land.
It's a mess, though, that's for sure. And they did not vote. I mean, that is some of the bigger news coming out of it is they did not vote this time around. But It was presented to the coaches. It's just interesting to see and then look, you have the rivalries, which that is important to some people. I mean, maybe we can make that a poll question. Like I know in Ross Dellinger, a long, lengthy piece he wrote about this last week, he took a shot at kind of diagramming what that would look like and said it'd probably be similar to the COVID season where the bottom 8 and the top 8, you'd split the league in that, and the top 8 would get 2 of the top half opponents and 1 of the bottom half, and then kind of in the inverse, the bottom half would get 2 bottom halves and 1 of the top half as their permanents, and took a stab at doing it based off of secondary rivalries or geography, or I forgot the last thing.
Maybe
Ross.
they should hire Ross at the SEC office.
Maybe they should hire Ross. But it did away with LSU Florida. It was LSU, A&M. LSU's were A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss.
Based on proximity and just kind of historical rivalries, that would make sense.
But it's like, okay, so but I mean, would you be okay with that? I mean, that's been long the complaint, right, from LSU with the 6-1-1 is they have to play one of the top teams in the East every single year, whereas Alabama plays Tennessee or Ole Miss plays Vanderbilt, right? You know, it's would you be okay with that, but also gaining an Alabama and A&M who you play anyway, but you and Ole Miss, you don't get a permanent from the East anymore.
Yeah, and it rotates from year to year. I mean, it'll kind of vary. You're still going to have years where it's like, oh, our schedule is much harder than this team's schedule. But at the end of the day, you're trying to make like an objective, tangible schedule here that makes sense and ultimately makes the sport better. So I think those LSU fans that you referenced maybe should be a little bit more open-minded. I mean, this is just one aspect of so much change that we're seeing in college football. And like you said, Oklahoma, Texas, they're not even in a conference yet.
Yeah.
And you're not even applying them in all of this. So still a lot to figure out here, and it's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think.
And they don't have a vote right now. I mean, it's the 14 teams that are trying to establish this. I mean, there's not representation from Texas and Oklahoma and Destin right now. They're not in the league, like you said. So it's just it's kind of a mess. But I mean, those are all the scenarios you can kind of go through. The main important part is they've narrowed it down to 8-game schedule at a 1-7 or 9-game schedule at a 3-6, and it seems like the league is pretty darn split down the middle on it as we stand right now.
And I had to address some people in the Bayou 4 chat here that seem to forget that Nick Saban eventually is going to retire, or he's going to not coach Alabama anymore. Yes, Musso. These rules and this schedule, all this will be made for a world after Nick Saban. He's still going to thrive in it. He's still going to benefit in this world for a little bit, but let's not, reference Tennessee and Alabama and pretend like Nick Saban's going to be there forever, because he won't be. And for whatever team does get Alabama as that yearly date, one day it will not be as daunting as it is right now going into 2022.
I don't know if he's ever going to retire, Mario. I think we have a difference of opinion. I can't see that. I can't see the future that far, because it's not like it's going to happen next year. Like, he's going to be there for a while.
You know what they say?
This is going to go into effect while Nick Saban is still at Alabama. 100%.
You know what they say about Father Time? The same thing they say about LeVar Ball. Undefeated. Never lost.
Father Time is undefeated, and more often than not, so is Nick Saban. So, I mean, I'm just saying this will go into effect while he's still at Alabama. Like, he's not going anywhere in the next 3 years.
No, but like I said, going forward, when you talk about the quality of sport and, again, the individual matchups for some of these schools, it's not going to be what it is today. So you shouldn't factor that too much when you're trying to formulate an opinion on this stuff.
Not going forward, but, I mean, at least in the immediacy, that's what people are going to do, because it's what you've had to deal with for the past, I don't know how long, since 2007 when Nick's been there. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so... And it's normally Tennessee and Alabama at the crux of it, because that game means so much to those two fan bases. I don't know why Tennessee would continue to put themselves through that trouble. They haven't won since 2006. They've literally never beaten Nick Saban. Like, I don't know why you would fight to keep that alive if you're the Tennessee Volunteers, but they do. They do. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just I favor the 9-game model because I like more SEC football, and if I don't have to watch LSU or Alabama or Florida or any of these teams just play that crap game in the third week of November anymore, I'm good with that. What's going to be interesting, though, is what it maybe does Power 5. I mean, plenty of teams have multiple Power 5 games scheduled in the future, like 2 in 1 year. Are you really going to want to play 11 Power 5 games out of your 12? That's going to be something. I mean, there's a lot they have to go through with it, but 8 or 9? I mean, that seems to be the question right now.
I'm honestly going to be cool with either one of them. At the end, I've kind of accepted this. And you and I remember, went back and forth about this very same topic back in the summer when this was all kind of fresh. But the tradition is what it is. The rivalries are what they are. I mean, going forward, you might not see as much of it, but I wouldn't be opposed to the 9-game model and still keep at least a little bit of that. So we'll see what ultimately happens. I will be cool with either one, but the 9-game model with the 3 permanent opponents, I think is the best option right now.
I'm with you on the 9-game model. We'll grab our first break of the day, come back with more after further review. Musso and Mario in for Moscona. Scott Rabalais going to join the show in about 14 and a half minutes. Stay tuned. AFR continues next.
AFR.
Talking about River City's 1 hour air. 752-0001. 752-0001. Love telling you about River City's 1 hour air because I love telling you about great companies that treat people right. That's River City's 1 hour air. They make you feel valued, and they make you feel comfortable. When you schedule service with River City's 1 hour air, when technicians come into the house, you get a phone call, an email, and a text message alerting you the technician's on the way. You get a text message with a picture, a photo, name, and reviews of that technician who's coming to your house. They take the time to explain everything. They're very thorough. They have equipment on the truck because they're so big on continuing education. They have equipment on the truck other companies don't even own, never even heard of. River City's 1 hour air. Nights, holidays, weekends, they'll always come out. They'll never charge you extra. River City's 1 hour air. Got a problem with your home central AC? Call River City's 1 hour air. 752-0001.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, Front-to-Back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to front-to-backboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front-to-Back Boat Service.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è. Oh, oh, oh.
Call. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Back here on a Wednesday edition of After Further Review, presented by Pluckers, Musso and Mario in for Scone. Talked a lot of SEC scheduling format there in the first segment. I want to keep the football talk going here, but more LSU-centric. So Brian Kelly was on a podcast, the Varsity House podcast with Sean Crawford. Sean Crawford played for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, so a former player of his. Had him on the podcast. They talked a lot of different things, whether it be, decisions on leaving Notre Dame and things of that nature, and what Brian Kelly, his experience so far in Baton Rouge, and really all the same questions that Brian Kelly's been asked since December when he took this job and was introduced as the LSU head coach. But he gave a bit of a different answer to a question that he's been asked multiple times, and it caught a lot of people's attention because the quote was taken a little bit out of context. We're going to play the full clip, which I think runs about 42 seconds, if I remember correctly from when I cut it earlier. Sean Crawford asked Brian Kelly about competition and the challenge of entering the SEC and why that was attractive. And
I want to be
the same question he's been asked over and over again, right? And he's given kind of the same answer. This one was a little different, though.
Yeah, I want to beat Nick Saban. Who doesn't want to beat Nick Saban? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to play him. I want to play him in the regular season. You know, I mean, that's the standard, right? That's the standard. Now he's a conference opponent, right?
Right.
And I started in Division II as a head coach, and felt like I was ready to move to Division I at Central Michigan. From there, I moved to Cincinnati. From there, I moved to Notre Dame, and I love my time in Notre Dame. I love the players more than anything else. And then you're presented with another challenge. And I've always felt that you never run from a job, you run to a job. And I never ran from Notre Dame, I ran to an opportunity. And I just felt like this was a great opportunity.
It's a little different than what he said in the past, and it's a really good answer, but the part that everybody took and ran with was, I want to beat Nick Saban. And that's kind of where it was left at. And I think when you see that, there's obviously two ways you can approach it, because the focus around LSU Alabama has just been so intense for the last decade, right? It's been the most watched game in college football for the last decade or whatnot. And it's at the end of the Les Miles era through Coach O. It's just so much has been put on that one game. And I think if people see that and the connotation given to it is, Brian Kelly, why'd you leave Notre Dame for LSU? And the answer you put to it is, I want to beat Nick Saban. You could think, okay, got to stop doing that. But the part of that to me that's important is him saying it's the standard. And look, Brian Kelly, the way he's answered that question in the past is the opportunity to win a national championship. If you want to do that, eventually you have to go through Nick Saban anyway right now, because it is the standard. That's the way I view that. I view him saying, I want to beat Nick Saban. Doesn't everybody want to beat Nick Saban? Yes, because to get to the ultimate goal, you have to do that eventually, whether it be in an SEC championship game, whether it be in the regular season, whether it be in the playoff. You have to at least beat Nick Saban once.
I don't have a problem with it at all. And he was very respectful about it. He wasn't like, we're going to kick his ass this fall like Jimbo Fisher did last summer, although A&M did win that game. Props. But when he's talking about the standard, I don't even think he's just talking about LSU. I think that's kind of the standard that Brian Kelly himself as a coach wants to live up to, because he's had a chance to win a national championship before. His best teams at Notre Dame. What was the one thing standing in the way? Nick Saban. In the playoff a couple years ago and back in 2012 when Notre Dame just got murdered. So his next step as a coach is to beat Nick Saban. Ultimately, if he's going to achieve his goals at LSU, that's something that's going to happen, literally. Even in the scenario where you have to play them twice in the regular season and in the playoff, you're very likely going to have to, almost assuredly going to have to beat Nick Saban. And like I said, it's not just an LSU thing. It's a Brian Kelly thing as well. He knew when he took this job, this was going to be the best chance that he would ever get to finally slay that boogeyman. And he's confident that he can do it. That's why he came to LSU, and I have no problem with him saying this. Like you said, taking a little bit out of context, but also he's being really honest. He's being really transparent. Of course he wants to beat Nick Saban.
Oh, and here's the thing. It's not just LSU that's always the focus. I mean, you mentioned the Jimbo quote. Well, Jimbo was being asked about beating Nick Saban. He wasn't being asked about beating Georgia or beating, then Dan Mullen at Florida. He was asked about beating Nick Saban to give that answer that you referenced. I mean, Brian Kelly wasn't obviously asked directly about that, but in the grand scheme of things, going to this job, it's unavoidable. Mario, we were talking off air, I think last week, when all the Jimbo and Saban kerfuffle was going on about the last coach to beat Nick Saban 2 years in a row. And I'm pretty sure it's Les Miles in 2010 and the regular season in 2011, and nobody has really done it since. I started thinking about it a little deeper than that. I think there's only 2 active coaches right now in college football that have 2 wins against Nick Saban. Dabo's gotten him twice, and Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else active has multiple wins over Nick Saban. So, again, the standard. He wants to beat Nick Saban. That's how I take it. Not that the whole season cruxes on LSU, Alabama like it has really, it seemed like the past decade, and that's hurt the program in a lot of people's eyes.
And if we could be real, I can't wait for LSU to pull the upset in the fall. But nobody is expecting LSU to beat Alabama this year. I don't think anybody's going to really get upset from the LSU side of things here with Brian Kelly. Like, oh, you're giving them motivation. I think he's talking more about kind of down the road, not even necessarily this season when they are coming to Baton Rouge, by the way. But eventually he wants to beat Nick Saban. He's being asked about his motivations, right? And it's derived from, like I said, personal experience for him already at Notre Dame. So I think it's much ado about nothing here.
Knows it's the standard, and if you want to get to where you want to get to, which is the pinnacle of college football, you got to go through the best of all time, and that's Nick Saban. So,
and talking about beating him is like Will Ferrell in the ice skating movie. Like, it gets the people going.
It gets the people going. Exactly.
You could be doing it in an event like a touchdown club like Nick Saban, or you could be doing it on a podcast, but you know exactly what you're doing. He's talking to the fans about his goals down the road, and in a way he's talking to himself because that's what he wants to do.
It's the second part of it. I want to beat Nick Saban. Doesn't everybody want to beat Nick Saban? Who doesn't want to beat Nick Saban? Right? You're right. It gets everybody fired up, man, especially around this town. That's for damn sure.
It's provocative.
We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, visit with Scott Rabalais from The Advocate. He's been in Destin for the SEC meetings, get his takeaways on the biggest storylines that the coaches and the administrators and the ADs and Greg Sankey all kicked around in Destin, Florida. That's next on the other side. This is At Further Review. Stay here.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. For more than 60 years, Clegg's Nursery has served the greater Baton Rouge area. You know the 4 locations: Siegen Air Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Spring has sprung and summer is here, y'all. Summer is here, and it is the perfect time to get by Clegg's Nursery. If you want to get into that lawn and get rid of all those weeds, they've got the weed-killing cocktail for your lawn. You want to add a pop of color to your flower beds, to your patio pots. Nobody has the selection that Clegg's does, as their full greenhouses with truckloads of plants and flowers arriving every single day. Any of the 4 Clegg's Nursery locations. And remember, Clegg's is partnered with True Value Hardware Store, so anything you'd find at a True Value Hardware store, you'll also find at Clegg's Nursery. So buy local, shop local, and tell them Matt sent you in. The Clegg's Nursery.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
My own people call me an Uncle Tom. I play music. Been wined and dined by royalty. Trying to bring people together. All people. But regardless of all that kind of stuff, I'm still Louis Armstrong.
Here's the man you're waiting for, the king of jazz, Louis Satchmo Armstrong.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on it.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Blue Bonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com, theantiagingclinics.com. If you want to look and feel like your younger self, the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana makes that happen. Hormone replacement therapy, don't need an appointment. When you're on routine therapy, you go in on your given day, whichever day is best for you. You're in and out in less than 10 minutes. The Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. A simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. Feel better. So many times you don't know how bad you feel until you start feeling good again. They can help you out. TheAntiAgingClinics.com, TheAntiAgingClinics.com.
Back here on a Wednesday edition of After Further Review, Musso and Mario filling in for Scone as he is vacationing at the beach. Also been going on at the beach are the SEC meetings, and we've talked a lot about them so far throughout this first hour of the show. Right now, welcome on the advocate, Scott Rabalais, who's been in Destin covering these meetings and the bevy of news that's been coming out of them. Scott, we appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm looking out at the beach right now. I don't see Matt, but if I see him, I'll tell him you guys said hi.
Please do. Or you know what? He maybe he doesn't want to be bothered. I don't know. I don't know. One of the two. One of the two. Scott, so look, as much as everybody wants to talk about Jimbo and Nick, I think the scheduling formula might be a little bit more consequential to the rest of the league than Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban's current little spat. It seems very much like it's an 8-game schedule or a 9-game schedule. There was no vote I saw, but it seems like they're split down the middle in the conference. To the best of your knowledge, what really is the biggest holdup in potentially maybe getting this to a vote?
Yeah, I mean, they started with 30-something possibilities, according to Commissioner Sankey, and it's variations on a theme now. A handful, he said, of possibilities with the 8 or 9 game schedule. They're trying to decide on. I think probably the biggest hang-up is probably who your permanent opponents would be. There's not going to be any more divisions. I mean, that's almost a given. And it's not going to be pods, which was talked about at one time.
but you're probably going to have permanent opponents. With an 8-game schedule, you might just have one permanent opponent and rotate everyone else in the conference. Play them home and home, then you play the other group home and home, and then you play everyone in a 4 or 5 year period. Or you could have 9 and then probably play 3 permanent opponents. And so I think probably trying to decide who that's going to be for each school is one of the bigger things. I mean, let's face it, you have haves and have-nots in the SEC, and everyone would like to have Vanderbilt on the schedule. I was joking with someone earlier, this is going to get shaken out. We're going to find Vanderbilt's got 6 permanent opponents. Wow, look at that. But, you know, you're going to have there's traditional rivalries that have existed across divisions as we've had them since 1992. There's geographic considerations and all that stuff. So, no, there's been no vote yet. The presidents and chancellors are just starting to come in now, and they will vote on Friday. And if they vote, it's going to be on Friday, I should say. Nothing definitive yet, but one of the athletic directors, Greg Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, said earlier today, there could be a vote as early as Friday. So, but they don't have to. But obviously the clock is ticking, and you can't wait till the last minute with Texas and Oklahoma joining the league, at least by 2025.
Either way, there's a whole lot to figure out here still, Scott. But when it comes to LSU, if you're going to try to theorize a little bit, assuming they do go with the 8-game model with the 1 permanent opponent, when it comes to just preference for LSU, not even talking about the institution, but just their fans, who do you think they would want as that permanent opponent? There's so much to consider: geography, tradition. They've been playing Ole Miss since forever. But who do you think LSU fans would want to continue to play every season?
Well, I think Ole Miss and Miss State would be 2 of the schools at the top of the list. Ole Miss being one of LSU's biggest traditional rivals, and we're talking going back way back to the 50s and 60s and 70s when this was one of the biggest games in college football for a period. LSU's played Mississippi State more times than it's played anyone in football, and I know that probably surprises some people, but that's the fact. Then you have Texas A&M, which is there's a lot in common with the 2 schools in terms of their fan bases and geography. Obviously, so many LSU fans in Texas and the Houston area. That's a big deal. I would throw Arkansas in the mix, and I would throw Alabama in the mix. That's been mentioned that LSU could possibly retain Alabama as a permanent opponent. I'm not saying that's likely to happen or is going to happen, but it's been a very popular game with TV ratings. Like, television is going to drive a lot of this. I think if they go to 9 games, to me it's because Disney, Jones, ESPN, and ABC is going to say, look, we're giving you all this money. We're going to give you even more money for more content, more inventory, especially with these 2 power programs, traditional power programs, joining the league. So all that remains to be determined. And if LSU played Texas A&M, would they still play the last game of the season? Thanksgiving weekend, or would Texas and Texas A&M play? And that's the game. That's when they used to play. Was on Thanksgiving Day, typically. So there's a lot to be determined. I don't know how much LSU fans would like or not like Alabama to still be on the schedule. I would think most people would say you don't want to play them. You're still going to play them maybe twice and then not play them for 2 years and play them twice. It's not like you're not going to play them for 10 years. That's not going to be the case. You can play everyone more often. But every year, do you want them off the schedule? I would think a lot of fans would want that, and a lot of fans would be like, no, that's a big game, and you want to see it. So, again, a lot to still be determined.
Scott, we saw Brian Kelly on with Paul Feinbaum earlier this afternoon. We were sitting here in studio. I know y'all got a chance to speak to the LSU head coach yesterday. Biggest takeaway from what Brian Kelly had to say?
Biggest takeaway to me was, what he had to say about NIL. Obviously it's not necessarily a unique perspective, but he said this is not how it was intended to be, the way it exists right now. That college sports is veered too close to professionalism, and he said these kids don't really want contracts. They don't really want to be potentially traded or cut or something like that. And he used the humorous example. Hey, we just traded you to St. Bonaventure. Well, they don't have a football program, but we traded you anyway. That's what we think of you. And so, that was his biggest thing. And obviously that's the concern. Like, everyone is saying a lot of the same things here. Athletic directors, coaches, whatever. NIL is here. They have to deal with it. but they would like to deal with it differently. There needs to be some rules. As Billy Napier, of course, now the Florida coach, said yesterday, we're living in a land without laws, and we'll talk about guardrails and the lack thereof. And now is there going to be direction that comes from Congress or state legislatures? Obviously, there's legislation pending in Louisiana that could come up for a vote next week. Is it going to come from the NCAA? Is it going to come from conferences? I think the SEC, as it grows in number, is going to grow even more in power and ability to govern itself to a certain extent. So I think the SEC, you may see the SEC take the lead on some of these rules. There's going to be more rules with NIL. What they're going to be, I don't know, but there's going to be more rules and regulations to kind of rein it in and to coexist with it, and the collectives and the promises to get players to schools that are not supposed to take place are going to be at least curbed to some degree, I think, because this was like a great idea, but no one knew how to do it. As Nick Saban said, it was like putting the canoe on top of the SUV and taking off, and it's not tied down, and just hope for the best. Well, that's kind of what we have with NIL right now.
Did any of the coaches or ADs or anyone who spoke about it this week, did they express any desire, or did they express a desire more in the NCAA making these rules, or even Congress making these rules, or are they just kind of feel like they're, as you said with Nick Saban, tying the canoe to the top of the car and driving off?
Yeah, going back to what Brian Kelly said, I think they'd like to make some headway with this before it has to go to Congress, because you're not exactly sure what Congress is going to, or state legislatures are going to do, and it's not, if it's up to the legislatures, it's not going to be uniform. So I think he personally, and I think probably shares a view that other people would like it not to see to go that far, that they can come up with some common sense agreements and rules before that, because it's just so haphazard the way it's controlled, and it's not controlled, all over the country with different conferences, different states, different schools.
Scott Rabalais is our guest here on After Further Review, giving us some really good insight from the SEC meetings over there in Destin. I had to ask you, Scott. Jimbo Fisher said today about Nick Saban, quote unquote, we are moving on. You're still going to have SEC media days. You're still going to see these guys' faces a lot between now and the fall. Do you think Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban both really are moving on?
Well, I think they're kind of forcing it. Look, Saban has, almost immediately tried to, apologize and explain his way out of these, the things he said. And Jimbo, called Jimbo, and Jimbo wouldn't take his call. They were forced, as people saw, they were forced to meet yesterday because there are mandatory meetings for football, the men's and women's basketball coaches here. So, and Jimbo's the chair of the football committee meeting. They didn't sit together. They sat around a big rectangular table or tables, probably because it's such a big group. And, I think they're both trying to move on. I think look, they've both been publicly reprimanded by Commissioner Sankey, which doesn't happen very often, especially the coaches of their stature. I can't remember the time two national championship winning coaches were reprimanded by the SEC commissioner publicly anyway. So they are trying to move on. And I will say this, Jimbo spoke very briefly today. He kind of tried to get past it. Nick spoke yesterday, said a lot more. Nick was willing to face the music first and face a lot more of it, and including some very direct questions from one of the reporters covering Texas A&M, trying to say, I didn't say anyone broke the rules. Well, you said they bought their class, which technically they did, but they've gamed the system, to do it, I think is what most people think. So, but I will say this, Nick Saban, having covered him since he arrived at LSU in late 1999, I've never seen him so flustered at a press conference about anything. He was very on the defensive, and he said over and over again, I'm not against NIL, I'm for it, and things like that. And he tried to really carefully speak his words, even though he knew he was getting these questions by agreeing to talk to the media. They set up a time for him to talk. So, but he did. He faced the music and faced more than Jimbo Fisher did, I have to say, overall.
October 8th is still going to be really, really entertaining. Scott,
well.
Scott, the last thing I have for you is the SEC-only playoff that got brought up. That definitely caught the ire of a lot of people, I believe. I know Brian Kelly kind of brought it up, then Greg Sankey kind of downplayed it. Do you think it's something he's serious about, or is it just kind of, I mean, we obviously know he's been upset with the way these negotiations have gone and possibly expanding the playoff. Is it maybe an empty threat? There's been a lot of talk about Power 5 breaking away.
Yeah, there is. And like, to a certain extent, college football has broken away. I mean, this is the college football playoff. You want to find the Division I football champion? That's the FCS champion.
Yeah.
That's the North Dakota States or the South Dakota States or something like that. I don't think it's entirely an empty threat because, look, the college football playoff initial contract it was 12 years and it ends with the 2025 regular season, and then the playoffs, into January of 2026. So there's no plan beyond that right now. So you have to have a contingency. If you're the SEC, you have to at least be saying, look, this maybe we'll call it a doomsday scenario. This is what we have to do because they couldn't come to an agreement to change the contract. It had to be unanimous. They all got together in Indianapolis at this year's national championship game. They couldn't come to a deal, and that supposedly angered Sankey. And this is how this has started to come up. I think by and large, it's a threat. It's a chance to use it as leverage. I don't think an SEC-only playoff is a good idea. I think it doesn't have a lot of legitimacy if you're not involving an Ohio State or a Clemson or whoever, Oregon or whoever comes out of can come out of the Pac-12. I think the SEC will get expansion pretty much on its own terms eventually. Sankey spoke yesterday of an 18 playoff with no automatic qualifiers because that would limit the SEC. When you could to probably two teams. If you have 6 automatic qualifiers, then they could maybe get 3 teams in an 18 playoff. You can get 4 or 5 teams in a 12-team playoff from the SEC. So, I think mostly it's a threat. It's a threat the SEC could make good on. I'm sure ESPN and ABC would be very happy to televise an SEC playoff. But is it going to eventually become reality? No, I don't think so. I think what will be reality is an expanded college football playoff that is pretty much in liking with what Greg Sankey and the SEC wants.
Yes, Scott Rabalais of The Advocate, one of the best to do it, and joining us here on After Further Review, giving us a recap of all the sights and sounds of the SEC spring meetings in Destin. Scott, we appreciate the time and insight. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Y'all take care.
Absolutely. So that is Scott Rabalais. We'll grab our final break here of hour number 1. Come back on the other side with more After Further Review. Don't you move.
AFR.
Rouse's is the official supermarket of LSU Athletics and the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. So if it's game day or any day, always get by Rouse's. Locations all over the state of Louisiana. You can find that location nearest you at rouses.com, rouses.com. We shop at Rouse's, love Rouse's. If it's going to get groceries, things even like formula for Drew or our everyday needs that you'd find at a grocery store, or if it's something like Sunday after church, we pop in. We love to go over to the market side of it. We love to go get the brisket and the sides that we love to do for lunch or dinner, grab-and-go options, sushi and seafood. They've got it all at Rouse's. If you're throwing a party, they've got all your party trays and desserts, and, of course, a great selection of local craft beer, all the domestics, large wine, and liquor selection as well. That is at Rouse's, where they have delivery and pickup options also. So order on the Rouse's app or at rouses.com. They'll bring it out to you. It's Rouse's, where this feels like home.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all you can eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Final segment here of hour number one of a Wednesday edition of After Further Review. Switch the conversation up to some baseball in the next hour as LSU has officially boarded the bus and is on their way to the Berg to face Kennesaw State in the first game of the Hattiesburg Regional. But before we get out here, Mario, did want to mention this because it's just pretty awesome. So today, EA Sports announced Madden 23 and the cover of Madden 23. It was a no-brainer after his passing in December, but it will be the man in which the game is named for, the Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame broadcaster John Madden, will grace the cover of Madden NFL 23 for the first time in nearly 2 decades. He obviously was on the original cover in 1988, and Paul has it up this year's edition, the All Madden edition of the game on screen right now. That is just like it's a re-imaged of the first cover where it's John Madden coming through a chalkboard holding a football, and around it, though, the difference is it says, "Thank you, Coach." So it's one of many tributes that we'll get into, but it was a no-brainer, but, man, it was absolutely the right call, and that's very, very well done. There's 3 other covers outside of the All Madden, all of them reimagined from previous covers of John Madden, and all of them with that inscription of "Thank you, Coach."
Such a legend John Madden is, and such a great pitcher. All those pitchers really so good, but it's so good that they continue to honor his memory. And honestly, they should do something like this like every 10 years because this is not the first time he's been on the cover, and he's been so influential to forget the video game, which is very influential.
Yes.
Because when you think of football video games, you think NCAA and you think Madden, right? But also think about how influential he was to coaching as a legendary coach, Super Bowl champion, and then as a broadcaster as well. Did such a good job on the Sunday night broadcast for such a long time. And a lot of practices that are kind of common for color guys here today, especially ones that used to be coaches, were not really common before John Madden started doing it. Like, he was the first one to kind of had to ask to go to practice. And at first they told him, like, you can't do that. And he's like, yes, I can. I need to be able to call this game properly. And he found a way to do it. And since then, that's kind of become common practice. So it's really cool they continue to honor John Madden's legacy and his memory, and hopefully that's something we continue doing.
I'm glad you brought up the commentary because that's probably the coolest part about this is John Madden's voice will return to the game in a color commentary role thanks to remastered audio clips from his days as a broadcaster. So that's pretty cool. And then lastly, EA announced plans to direct funds from a $5 million John Madden legacy commitment to education donation revealed, directing $2.5 million to 4 local education nonprofits and another $2.5 to the creation of the EA Madden Scholarship in conjunction with the United Negro College Fund and 12 HBCUs, which is really, really well done by EA.
Very cool. Very cool. Very good for John Madden. And also, you cannot curse yourself from beyond the grave. So anybody who's saying that Madden curses the thing, he avoided that as well.
That is true. You cannot do that. But awesome that he's returning to the cover. Again, it was a no-brainer, but man, that's just for me, the coolest thing is having him back in the game because of remastered audio clips like from his days of broadcasting. That's going to be awesome, and that's a very fitting tribute because while many know him as the coach, a lot of people, especially in our generation, grew up with him as the color commentator. So getting to have that back is definitely a plus. So well done by EA Sports. Madden NFL 23, John Madden back on the cover. That's going to wrap up hour number 1 here of AFR. Stay tuned. 2 more hours to go. This is 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
AFR.
We remind you about Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com. That's where you can check them out, Michelli.com. Remember, at Michelli, they do offer ISO 17025 accreditation. You can learn more at Michelli.com and other accreditations and standard calibrations as well, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. All of their different services and products are at the website. The website is a great virtual font of resources. So many times clients will say, oh, I didn't know you did that. So go to Michelli.com. The track system that they offer is a great asset. Track records, assets, and calibrations. It's an acronym. And what this allows you to do is track the status of the calibration of your devices. And then it also gives you a record of those calibrations at your fingertip online for free 24/7, 365 so you can be more efficient. Michelli Weighing and Measurement.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside, off the bench, Hunt and Hill, the early line. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but 2 NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
I'm Doug Brown. Game 1 of the NBA Finals in San Francisco tomorrow night for the Celtics and the Warriors. Boston coach Ime Udoka.
It's a kind of a perfect storm as far as the matchup with all the offensive talent they have, the defensive talent we have, and I think our size and versatility bodes well for us as far as that. So I feel confident with a lot of guys guarding different players for them.
Ime Udoka, every game of the NBA Finals on ESPN Radio and ABC TV. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and Washington Commanders owner Daniel Snyder have been asked to testify at a congressional hearing 3 weeks from today. A House committee is investigating the Commanders' hostile workplace and the league's role in setting standards. Baseball finals today. The Mets make it 6 wins in a row, shutting out the Nationals 5-0. Tomas Nido drives in 3. The Guardians shut out the Royals 4-0 to sweep that 3-game series. Cardinals beat the Padres 5-2. And Ukraine, in its first game in 6 months, wins a World Cup qualifier today against Scotland 3-1.
Is your summer staffing situation significantly scarce? Then you need Indeed. Their powerful all-in-one hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Want to find your next great hire? Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Let's ride.
Hour number 2 of a Wednesday edition of After Further Review presented by Pluckers. Matt Musso alongside Mario Jerez. We're filling in for Matt Moscona, Alondra Villarreal, and Paul O'Neill on the other side on the audio and video boards. 1 hour in the books. Thanks to Scott Rabalais for joining us from Destin, Florida, talking SEC football meetings. We talked a lot of SEC football meetings, and speaking of the SEC football meetings, Lane Kiffin is now on with Paul Feinbaum and is the first, this is totally just random, but is the first person on that set that's on the beach that's actually dressed to be on the beach. Congrats to Lane Kiffin on the fit. He actually looked like he belongs in Destin. T-shirt, visor, Ray-Bans. He just needs a frat strap, and he's good to go. I'm sure he has flip-flops on. Finally, somebody's not up there in a suit and tie.
Can confirm. Lane Kiffin definitely has the appropriate fit right now. And I have to say, both of these gentlemen look pretty cool right now. I mean, they're at the SEC meetings. They're in Destin. They both got the shades on. Lane Kiffin and Paul Feinbaum both, to an extent, definitely have life figured out.
Somebody finally figured it out, at least, to go up there in a T-shirt. I mean, Lane Kiffin looks like he's ready to go lay in the sand. Good for him.
And
okay.
I have to say, really quick, man, I like Lane Kiffin a lot. A lot of people kind of rag on him. I know some people who hung out with him kind of in person and don't talk as much about the TV persona. They say he's not really like that, but he seems like a really likable person, and he seems to have really humbled himself kind of as a coach. He's got a really, really tough job at Ole Miss right now, but since he made that comment several months ago, he hasn't done that much complaining, and he's kind of earned the opportunity. Somebody who had to work for Nick Saban, not an easy thing to do, then go coach college football in Boca Raton, Florida, which is also not an easy thing to do. So definitely not to the detriment of LSU, but in a way, I am kind of rooting for Lane Kiffin to succeed.
Lane speaks his mind. People don't like that when you do that very often in today's world. That's for sure, and Lane definitely does that. Okay, I got sidetracked there. I'm sorry. I've just been waiting for somebody to dress appropriately to go actually to the beach for this interview with Paul Feinbaum, and Lane Kiffin came through. All right, so we talked a lot of SEC spring meetings in hour number 1. We're going to switch it up, talk some LSU baseball here, definitely to lead off hour number 2, but also at the 4:30 segment as well. So the Tigers are in a bus. They are on their way to Hattiesburg right now for the regional hosted by Southern Miss. And what I kind of wanted to dedicate this segment to, Mario, is LSU pitching and how they might go about setting up the starting rotation for this weekend. That is always a major topic of conversation. Regional week is how it looks, because you're always trying to get the best combination. Do you save your ace? Do you throw your ace out there in game number 1? It has a lot to do with matchups. It has a lot to do with your current pitching staff. And look, Jay Johnson has made it abundantly clear that LSU has no intention of announcing their starting pitcher for any game until 90 minutes before first pitch in the postseason. So that will maintain. But it's going to be one of two people. It's either going to be Ty Floyd or Mikhail Hilliard when they face Kennesaw State. And we'll get into what we think they should do. We'll get into what Jay has done in the past. But it's different this time around because it's Jay's first time at LSU. We kind of understood what Paul Mainieri was going to do in this situation. And more often than not, Paul held his ace. More often than not, they were hosting, and that makes a lot of sense to do it when you're facing the 4 seed. But more often than not, Paul Mainieri held the ace in this spot. Now we get to see what Jay Johnson's going to do.
And I think one advantage for LSU is that they've kind of already had to go through some mixing and matching along the way with their rotations. And maybe in this setting, when you have to, operate with the arms that are available to you, it could be a good thing. And not just that, Jay Johnson has experience in this very same situation. This is not his first rodeo, being in this round and even being on the road in this round. Went all the way to Omaha back at Arizona. So this is something that Jay Johnson has some experience with overall. And like I said, you've already done some mixing and matching, so that could be a good.
That is a good point. They've had to mix and match a lot, whether it be because of injury, whether it be because, it went downhill a little bit there with Blake Money, and you had to find somebody else in that role. You also mentioned Jay Johnson's experience. So, again, we knew what Paul Mainieri was going to do, or we felt we had a better feeling, a better finger on the pulse, right, with Coach Paul Mainieri. So I wanted to try and get one on Jay Johnson. So went back and looked. Arizona was in 3 regionals in his 5 years there. Last year, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for Arizona. They were the number 5 overall national seed. They were hosted. They were not going to throw their ace against the 4, and they didn't. And Garrett Irving went out there and threw a complete game in the marble game and moving on. LSU's not hosting this year, so that doesn't really resemble this year, right? The one that everybody wants to compare it to is 2016. And who wouldn't? Jay's first year at Arizona. They're on the road. They go all the way to Omaha, all the way to the championship series. It'd be great if they could replicate that. In that season, Arizona had Nathan Bannister as their ace. He threw 3 complete games. He was phenomenal. But they had J.C. Cloney behind him, who was there was a hell of a 1-2. And Cloney would eventually become the number 1 the very next year. So they're on the road as a 2 seed. They threw Nathan Bannister. They threw the ace in game number 1 and then followed that up with Cloney in game 2. You look at 2017, it's the same situation. They're a 2 seed on the road. Cloney's your ace. You don't really have much behind him if you're Arizona that year. They threw Cloney in that first game. They actually lost that game, but they went with the ace there. So both times that Jay Johnson has been on the road in a regional as a head coach like at Arizona and the 2 seed, he's gone with his ace. And one time he didn't have much behind that ace. The other time he had the soon-to-be ace behind there. So maybe you take something from that going into this. I think this case is obviously different. Mikhail Hilliard's been LSU's best. They've played best behind him. You can certainly make the argument that you should hold him for game number 2, even if it's not a marble game situation. You'd want your best available on the mound facing elimination. You can make that argument 100%. You can make the argument that, hey, you got to get to that marble game, and maybe you're taking Kennesaw State, a team that a little too lightly, if you want to, hold Mikhail Hilliard for the potential to face Southern Miss there in game 2. It's going to depend a lot on matchups. Not only Kennesaw State's lineup versus LSU, but LSU's lineup versus what many figure is going to be Bezinchek from Kennesaw State, which would be a tough test from a lefty, and this lineup struggled. So there's plenty of things they have to go through, and they're weighing all those options for sure.
It's good that he has so much experience to go back on there if you're Jay Johnson. But I would think it's going to be Hilliard. We'll see what they decide to do, but I would think they're going to go with Hilliard.
And if it were up to me, I would throw Ty Floyd. Okay. I would. I think Ty has been really good down the stretch for LSU. I think Kennesaw State is a very good offensive team. But I also think their biggest weakness is on the mound. And LSU has to like that matchup with their bats against Kennesaw State's pitchers. Even if it is Bezinchek, who is going to be 85-90 and could absolutely give LSU problems and go out there and shut them down. But that's not going to impact whatever LSU's pitcher does. If Ty Floyd or Mikhail Hilliard, whoever it is, goes out there and throws 6 shutout innings, but the other guy throws 7, well, you're going to be in trouble either way against that. If LSU can get into this bullpen of Kennesaw State, they should have a lot of success. It's a team with an ERA north of 6, so you like your bats there. You figure you'll be able to score a lot of runs. I can point you to Kennesaw State versus Georgia earlier this year. That game finished 17-15, right? I don't think that's going to happen, obviously. I think LSU's pitching is obviously better than Georgia's, but it just shows you they can score a lot of runs. They give up plenty as well. I think Ty Floyd really improved throughout his outing against Tennessee. It pitched better than the line indicated, and while Kennesaw State's a good offense, they ain't Tennessee. They ain't Tennessee, and it's going to be a little easier with it not being Tennessee. And the main reason for me as well is I think if LSU is going to win this regional, they need to go 2-0. I just don't have a lot of faith in the rest of the and the rest of the pitching after that, at least from a starting standpoint. I think you're going to probably end up in a bullpen game, and I think the sample size is large enough right now where you see that's not LSU's way anymore this late in the season. Those guys have been taxed. So if you can get through it with Floyd, which I think you can because I think he's made great strides down the stretch here with the secondary stuff, including that changeup that you saw flashed a lot against Tennessee. If you can get through it with him, which I think you can, to have Hilliard, who you've played best behind all year in that marble game scenario potentially, that sets LSU up best for the rest of the weekend and going forward, hopefully into a regional final. And if you don't, you have Mikhail Hilliard on the bump in an elimination game standpoint, and then you figure it out from there. But I would want Mikhail Hilliard on the mound, whether it be 1-0 game or an elimination game, because that's been LSU's best chance to win all season long.
I'm with you. I think you just have to take your chances with all due respect to Kennesaw State. But LSU should have success, at least offensively, like you said. And looking at it, I know we're not in a gambling show right now. This is AFR, not early line. But just going by the sports book and what common perception seems to be, LSU favored to win this game at minus 280 odds. It's pretty short right there. And then Kennesaw State at plus 210. So you get $2.10 for every dollar that you put down on Kennesaw State in a bet. So that goes to show that not really many people, at least in that world, are giving Kennesaw State a chance. But we'll see.
No, I mean, look, Kennesaw State, they do have a shot. I mean, it's postseason, right? I mean, it's absolute. They got a shot. I'm not dismissing Kennesaw State. Like, that's not what I'm trying to go for here. I've dug into them plenty right now. And their leading hitters are transferred from Mississippi State. He was the first team all ASUN player. He was the ASUN tournament MVP. Like, that guy's more than capable. Donovan Cash is very good. Cash Young is very, very good. Tyler Simon, very good. Like, Donovan Cash was the freshman of the year in that league. He drove in 57 runs as a freshman in college. Their lineup is stacked. I think Ty Floyd's made a lot of strides. I think you can get through that game. And it goes back to kind of what we said. Look, if their pitcher goes out there and shoves, it doesn't matter. Like, you probably weren't going to win anyway. It's the same situation you had last year in Eugene against Gonzaga. You threw Landon Marceau in the game 1. You lost because Gonzaga's pitcher shoved it down your throat for damn near a complete game. It wasn't going to matter what you got out of that, even with Landon Marceau on the mound, because you couldn't hit that guy. So you're either going to hit that guy or not. Mikhail Hilliard or Ty Floyd on the mound, that doesn't do anything for LSU's bats in the immediacy having to actually go up against that arm. I think you can get through that game with Ty Floyd. Now, if you ask me what I think LSU will probably do, well, I just gave it to you. I mean, Jay Johnson's throwing his ace as a 2-seed every time. He'll probably throw Mikhail Hilliard, but I don't know that for sure. We won't know for 90 minutes. That's just what I would do. I would go Floyd in that situation because either of them give you a good shot against that lineup. But I'd rather have McHale in an elimination game standpoint or a chance to go 2-0 because I think 2-0 is their best chance to win the regional.
Well said. At that point, you just figure out the rest later, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, and look, and I'll say this too, from the pitching standpoint, if you do get to 2-0 or if you're having to go through the losers bracket, somebody's got to step up because we just mentioned the bullpen game thing. Somebody has got to step up and pitch deep into a game, whether that's Sam Dutton, whether that's Bryce Collins, whether that's anybody else, because the sample size is large enough now. Whether it's the game 2 against Bama or game 2 against Georgia or the final 2 games of the Ole Miss series or the game against Kentucky in the SEC tournament, bullpen game ain't LSU's way anymore. They could get away with it early in the year. I think the guys you count on for that have been taxed too much to this point and aren't going to be able to extend for covering 7 innings or whatnot of a game. So somebody else has to step up, and that normally happens in the postseason for a lot of teams. It's got to happen for LSU here, especially if they don't especially if they don't win the first 2 games, if they have to go through the losers bracket.
Yes, well said. This is the time of the year to do it. You can make yourself a lot of money, literally or figuratively speaking, regardless of what has happened up to this point. So hopefully somebody does indeed actually step up. And LSU is going to need that from their starting pitching eventually.
Yeah, no, I mean, and eventually is now. Eventually is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this weekend.
Not quite win or go home just yet, but it's about to be really soon.
Yeah. It could be real. It could be on Saturday. I mean, it could be really soon. It's a great time of year, though. Jay Johnson, we'll talk more about what he had to say at the media availability today a little bit later on. But he said, look, it's his favorite time of the year. It's the most fun time of the year. So we look. That's the thought on the pitching. We'll see what happens. We tried to find some precedent for you. Gave you our thoughts. It's up to Jay Johnson and Jason Kelly now going forward. Tigers are en route to Hattiesburg. Grab our first break of hour number 2. Come back with more AFR on the other side. Stick around.
AFR.
If you are even thinking about selling your home, I'm going to give you a phone number. I'm going to give you the only phone number that you will need. I'm going to give you Darren James's phone number. It's Darren's cell. Like, you can call this number, you can text this number, and you are literally calling or texting the phone number that Darren James has in his pocket or on his hip. I'm talking about the realtor that sells more homes than anybody. A guy on the Wall Street Journal is listed the top 1,000 realtors in America based on the number of homes sold. You ready? 335-7666. 335-7666 or agent225.com. Of course, you can go to the website, agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need to maximize your return on the home, you want a hassle-free, pleasant experience, you need Darren James. 335-7666 or agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
AFR is brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com, where they just got in 4 truckloads of brand new Volkswagens. We know what the issues have been like in the auto industry for more than a year now. But at South Point Volkswagen, inventory on the lot. Check it out at SouthPointVW.com. Remember, if it's on the lot, it's online at SouthPointVW.com or hurry by South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland. They are Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer, South Point Volkswagen, with 9 different IIHS top safety picks, the safest vehicles on the road, the style, the feel, the performance of luxury, the great German engineering without the cost, and they've got inventory right now at South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
Mario, obviously, look, it was a very interesting offseason in college football. A lot of new head coaches is around. And CBS Sports today put out an article about the biggest challenge year one for each new Power 5 head coach. There's a couple, including Brian Kelly, obviously. There's a couple that I want to go through here that I found interesting, so we could actually maybe even take this from a bit of a broader national view. Brian Kelly obviously won. I mean, look, I don't really care what Tony Elliott does at Virginia or what Mike Elko does at Duke. That's not important.
I think Mike Elko down the road could actually be decent. Remember Cutcliffe a couple years ago had
had
Duke?
success at Duke, yeah. But I mean, in the immediacy, I don't care, right? That's not what's important to me. I would like to be interested, though, in Billy Napier at Florida and what they have for him. Obviously, Brian Kelly. Mario Cristobal at Miami, I think, is extremely interesting. And obviously, Lincoln Riley at USC. Let's start with Brian Kelly, though, because I kind of disagreed with this. It said the biggest challenge for Brian Kelly year one at LSU is managing expectations. Obviously, we know the story, right? The last 3 coaches have won national titles, whether it be Nick Saban, Les Miles, or Ed Orgeron. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to do that. But he's got a 10-year contract. And I don't really think many LSU fans are expecting LSU to go out there and compete nationally this year, if we're being honest. At least the rational ones aren't. So I don't really think managing expectation would be Brian Kelly's biggest issue this year, because what is the expectation? I mean, expectation for me would be like 8-4, 9-3, and 9-3 is on the high side. I mean, it's not a super easy schedule for LSU this year. There's definitely some winnable games. I mean, look, you look at the Vegas win total for LSU. We found one at like 7.5. So, I mean, I think that's kind of right in line with that. I think for me, what's more important and the bigger challenge for him is continuing to build this team and this roster. I mean, they had to bring in the number 3 transfer class in the country. That's what you were left with. And a lot of those guys aren't going to be here even next year. Finding a quarterback is obviously a huge challenge for him this year. I think maybe all that goes into expectation, but expectation takes care of itself if you win. And I think if Brian Kelly goes out there and wins 8 games this year, the majority of this fan base is going to be pretty darn happy with that, considering you haven't even won 7 the last 2 years. You won, 5 in the regular season in 2020 and 6 in the regular season last year.
Yeah, 10 and 11 the last 2 years. And I think that should kind of be the stick that's used to measure this program. I mean, yeah, the last 3 coaches have won titles. 2019 was excellent. Coach O did a great job his first 3 years here, but the last 2 years have not been pretty. Like you said, you're talking about a 10 and 11 football team. And quite literally, I think the main challenge for Brian Kelly this year is to just improve the team. Like, this team already has some strengths, but you still have to kind of find an identity because they have some big holes as well. And LSU fans aren't really expecting, too much here. You definitely don't want to go 7 wins, 6 wins. That would at least induce some anxiety going into next season. But for now, they just want to see better than what we saw last year, and that's not saying very much. If this team is just a little bit more organized than the team was last year, and they just have reasonable injury luck, you keep your core guys healthy here, Smith on defense, Butte on offense, then you can have some success. But it's not like people are expecting LSU to set the world on fire right from the onset. But that being said, if it doesn't go year one, and then it doesn't go well year 2, we saw what happened to Coach Ogeron after just 2 years of winning the championship. So maybe down the road you can manage expectations a little bit, but right now I don't think people are expecting too much. Literally just improve the team, try to find an identity in 2022.
Yeah. And that's why I look at continuing to build the roster as what I think is the biggest challenge here in the immediacy for Brian Kelly. We all know the story about where they were in the bowl game, and we don't really need to rehash all of that, but we all lauded Brian Kelly for the class they brought in, whether it was all the transfers or closing on some top high school prospects in Louisiana like a Quincy Wiggins or whatnot in such a short time of being here and getting LSU, when you factored in transfers and high school, into a top 10 class in a transition year. Can you build on that now in 2023 with restrictions lifted in recruiting and things of that nature? That for me is way bigger than managing expectation, because I think, like you said, the expectation is just be better than you were the last 2 years. Please don't go 500, I think is what LSU fans are hoping for right now.
And LSU, by design, should never really go 500 because, again, maybe you don't need to beat Nick Saban. Maybe you don't even need to get to double-digit wins, but there is still some talent on this team. And if you have like an 8-4 season with wins against like Arkansas and a Texas A&M, the people would love that along the way, then that would be considered a successful season, I think, by most people.
Now, what they have for Billy Napier is kind of what I was just talking about with Brian Kelly, rebuilding the recruiting operation. Dan Mullen was quite bad at that, actually, at the University of Florida. And it's a main reason he got fired was because of the lack of recruiting. They bring in Billy Napier, who had 3 straight number 1 classes in the Sun Belt from 2019 to 2021. He's in a very talent-rich state, we know, in Florida. And Billy Napier has talked a lot about recruiting since he got there, whether it be in radio interviews that I know Matt has actually played back some of the stuff on this show from that. They are taking a very hands-on approach. They're pretty good at NIL, it seems like, as well over there in Florida. So I think they hit the nail on the head right there on that one. Florida was in a much worse – I think Florida was a tougher spot to inherit than maybe LSU was, even with the roster issues. Florida had their roster issues, and their recruiting class was in the dumpster, quite honestly. And Napier had to fight to get it up to where he finished at in his first year. So I see that as probably his biggest, because again, I don't think there's much expectation there for Florida in year 1.
Exactly, I would think so too. And he brought over a lot of players from UL with him. Like, you're gonna have at least 2 or 3 guys starting from ULF yet now with Florida, but the expectations for him aren't going to be super high year one either, kind of similar to Kelly. You want to build a foundation, you want to build some kind of identity for your football team, but it does speak volumes for me for Billy Napier that he turned down the Auburn job last season when he could have got it, or whenever Harsin got it. It could have been Billy Napier's if he wanted it, but he took the Florida job, and the fans at Florida are pumped for exactly what you just said, his recruiting prowess. I cannot believe that Dan Mullen said, right now is the season. This is not time for recruiting during the football season last year. It's always time for recruiting, and Billy Napier is very cognizant of that. Look at all he's already done at the University of Florida. So they're really excited for Billy Napier, although a little bit cautiously. Not expecting too much in the first year, but Florida fans are happy with what they've seen so far.
I said we talked about Lincoln Riley in this segment, and for Lincoln Riley, the biggest task they had down for him was one word, winning.
Yeah.
That's really all you got to do there. And look, I think Lincoln Riley is actually going to win pretty big. I think the Pac-12 is an okay league. I think that guy and his offense is going to take it USC pretty quickly, and they've got enough talent on that team already to be successful. They're going to win games this year. Are they going to be in the playoff or whatnot? Probably not, but they are already the betting favorite to win the Pac-12 this year over Oregon, over Stanford, over Utah, over teams like that. So I expect him to win. But, see, I can understand more of managing expectations with him than a Brian Kelly because of all the hoopla that surrounded that move from Oklahoma to USC, whether it be the spurning of LSU, if you want to call it that, or the taking of assistance from Oklahoma, the Caleb Williams coming over now to join the fold there. Just everything that went into that move and that surrounded that move. The talk of him leaving Oklahoma because he didn't want to be in the SEC in a few years. You have to win after all that happens, and I think expectations are already high in LA for Southern Cal.
100%. The expectations definitely a little bit more immediate for Lincoln Riley, not just because of what he did at Oklahoma, but because of the people he brought with him. Caleb Williams had a lot of people tracking like his every move when he was still in the portal. He's going to USC, and Jordan Addison from Pittsburgh, All-American wide receiver, somewhat controversially joins him at USC. And this is a program that's talked a lot, hasn't done a lot of barking recently. And they think that Lincoln Riley is the man that could finally get him there. And based on his resume, I could see why they think that. He is objectively a great offensive coach, but you still got to build a program. Something could happen to one of those two players. You have to have some depth. And I don't know. USC is going to be better. I agree with you. They're going to win some games. They're going to be better than what they were under Clay Helton. But I wouldn't sleep on a Utah, who had a great finish to the season last year. And there are still some teams in the Pac-12 that can challenge them, that have a little bit more tenure. Maybe not Oregon in year one under Cristobal, but I would not sleep on the Utah Utes. I do think USC will be better, but I would not bet on them to win the conference.
And you mentioned, I wouldn't either. And you mentioned, I actually kind of like Utah. I think people just continue to sleep on Kyle Whittingham in Utah year in and year out in that league, and they're always there at the end. But Mario Cristobal, you mentioned him. That's the last one I kind of wanted to talk about. And for Mario Cristobal, they listed keeping everybody in alignment. So obviously Dan Radakovich leaves Clemson as the athletic director and goes to Miami as the AD. Josh Gattis leaves Michigan for Miami. Kevin Steele leaves Maryland for Miami. Alonzo Highsmith is now in the front office at Miami. They have their collective at Miami. Keeping everybody in alignment is going to be very key, yes. And they just have not had great alignment at the U in some time. But even more so down the road for Mario Cristobal, can he erase that stigma that kind of followed him of Oregon of not being able to get over the hump and win the big one? I mean, that's what Miami's dealt with here the past few years. They've had really good regular seasons in recent memory, and they just can't get over the hump. You bring in Mario Cristobal, who constantly faded late in November at Oregon with playoff hopes on the line, and that's in the Pac-12, which is not a great league, as we just discussed. The ACC, probably not a great league either. I mean, it gets a lot of, stones thrown at it for being Clemson and everybody else, but Mario Cristobal, I mean, that down the road, that's going to be something I'm very interested to watching him. But, yeah, for sure, right now, you better hope everybody just stays together because togetherness has been a problem for the U.
Yeah, especially in the era of NIL. You would think you don't have club promoter De'Ara King over there to help you out anymore. So Mario Cristobal will definitely have his work cut out for him down the road. Not expecting much from the onset. You have some decent teams in the ACC. Pitt lost a lot, but I think they'll be a factor. And I'll be interested to see where Clemson lands this year as well, man. A lot of negative momentum for the Clemson Tigers in the last few years. Where they land kind of here in the near future will really influence what I think of the ACC going forward this year and in the future.
That is true. They need Clemson. They need a big dog. Without Clemson, they don't have a big dog right now at all in the ACC. I mean, Pitt emerged last year. Wake Forest had a nice season, but you're not going to count on those teams year in and year out. So, look, it's going to be interesting for a lot of Power Five coaches in new spots this fall. But, man, it's fun to talk about it here early in early June, right? And
it's June,
It's
man.
always football season.
Exactly.
Always football
And we're
season.
getting closer and closer. And I will reiterate what I kind of said at the beginning of the segment. From the onset, it will be tough for Elko to succeed at Duke, but I respect the fact that he left Texas A&M after all the good that he did there the last few years. And A&M obviously has a lot of momentum as a program right now, but he took on that challenge of coaching Duke, and Krzyzewski's not there anymore, man, coaching the basketball team. Maybe they, allocate some more resources to football. Maybe Clemson's on the downward. Not this year, but watch out for Mike Elko at Duke.
That's a good point. We'll see. We'll see. We'll grab a break, come back with more AFR next. Stick around.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Baton Rouge General Hospital, brgeneral.org, brgeneral.org. Remember the Baton Rouge General Express Care locations, brgeneral.org. Whatever symptoms you may be having, if you need to see a doctor quickly, but you don't want to go to the ER and maybe it's going to take a while till you can get in to see your doctor, just look up one of the Baton Rouge General Express Care locations. You can check in online. Go to brgeneral.org. There's the check-in online tab right there, brgeneral.org. And they got locations all over Baton Rouge, from Dutchtown to bordering LSU's campus and points in between. The Nicholson location is directly across from Tiger Stadium, and the Highland Road location is just through the south gates of LSU, right there in the shopping center. The Baton Rouge General Express Care and Urgent Care locations, walk-in urgent care 7 days a week for all the symptoms and what they treat. Check it out online at brgeneral.org. To check in online, it's right there at brgeneral.org.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
Do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA certified techs. Family owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years. Front to Back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. 288-8138, 288-8138, or ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding. They do it all. And at Relief Windows, they will never take $1 from you until you are thrilled with the work. Seriously, no deposit, no down payment. They do not want $1 from you until you are thrilled with the work that they do. That's Relief Windows. And what a time of year. We are moving to the winter months, and this is the time of year when those leaky, drafty windows can become costly. Of course, lets the cold air in, the warm air from your heater out. Make your home more energy efficient. Lower your monthly energy bills. Increase your home's resale value with energy efficient replacement windows from Relief Windows. 288-8138 or reliefwindows.com.
We're going to switch back here to some LSU baseball while we have a moment here in the second hour. We talked a lot about what they might do on the mound this weekend on the first segment here of the 4 o'clock hour. Jay Johnson did meet with the media today, and I think, look, he talked a lot about preparation for this week, and there's, he's got each team broken down. It's just like a regular weekend, but it's 3 different teams. It's the only difference. Talked a lot about that. I think what most everybody's interested in, though, is obviously the injuries, right? I mean, after the SEC tournament, he all but told you Cade Doty and Jacob Berry are back. Like, we expect them to play this weekend was his exact quote, and that has not changed. I think what's really going to be interesting for me is where Jacob Berry plays. Is he just back as DH, Jacob Berry, hitting from the right side, or is he healed up enough now to throw a baseball across the diamond and play third or switch hit again? I think that's very important because of how you fit other pieces around him in the lineup, like a Braden Joubert, like potentially a Gavin Dugas, who's still just kind of dealing with pain tolerance. As long as he can tolerate the pain, he can go out there and play, but you haven't seen him in the outfield. So, could you slide him into a DH spot? I think a lot of it, there's a lot of possibilities, but I think most of it hinges on where Jacob Berry plays, because 14 is going to be in the lineup.
100%, and we'll find out the specifics of that later, but certainly a lot for Jay Johnson to figure out, and he's not going to let us know, at least not anytime soon. One thing that I thought was positive that he said, or one thing that I thought was interesting that he said, was when he was talking about the entire 27-man roster and how everybody has kind of contributed up until this point. And one quote that was interesting was, he said, you get stretched, and I've seen it where somebody who maybe is not the headliner has been the reason somebody has won a regional. And I think our team is set up to somebody like that being able to help us. So that speaks to Jay Johnson having his team ready from top to bottom, and I like that.
And that speaks to something else we were talking about there in the first segment of this hour with the pitching. I mean, somebody's going to have to step up outside of Ty Floyd, Mikhail Hilliard, Eric Raiselman, Paul Gervais, Riley Cooper. Like, somebody outside of that group has to step up this weekend for LSU. And like he said, those guys have all contributed. A guy like Sam Dutton has contributed a lot. Bryce Collins contributed a lot. Grant Taylor's contributed a lot. One of those guys going to need to step up, though, here this weekend when LSU calls upon them. And look, the same can be said with if Jacob Berry's got a DH. Call your Cranford. You're going to be in there at third. You got to step up and keep helping him out. I mean, he's come up with some pretty big moments here so far, actually, down the stretch for LSU, whether it be defensively or it sucked to see him get robbed of that hit against Tennessee. I mean, that was going to score 2 runs if it fell in past the diving Beck, but it was a really good swing from Cranford, a guy who obviously has struggled offensively in his time at LSU, put a really good swing on that ball from the SEC Pitcher of the Year. Like, that's a candidate in a world where that could be the case. But again, that revolves around where's Jacob Berry play.
And Devin Fontenot, too. I know recently
for sure.
hasn't really had it going on, but you're talking about the LSU leader all-time in appearances, and we've seen a little bit of magic from him before early in his career against Florida State. A lot of hype for him after that series that LSU ended up losing, but that's somebody that maybe fits the bill. We have seen him do it before, maybe not recently, but somebody like that stepping up on this stage could be huge for LSU.
But that is for sure what it's going to take. But look, that's a good thing, at least on the injury front. That's great. I mean, you expect to have Doty and Berry back. That is going to help this offense.
I'm so happy Doty's okay since his injury towards the end of that game. That could have been absolutely disastrous for a guy that's had such a good year.
Especially in the ninth inning of a 21-10 ball game. I mean, that would have been a really tough pill to swallow if there was some labor damage there or something like that, and it wasn't just the dislocated shoulder like it was. So that is absolutely definitely a huge positive. But, you know, these teams, they haven't seen a lineup like LSU's going to throw out there. They haven't. I'm not saying that Southern Miss isn't great at pitching. I have a lot of respect for that staff. It has the number 2 ERA in the country. 3 of their pitchers were first-team all-conference performers, including 2 of their starters. Tanner Hall from Zachary is a really good arm who's 7th in the country in strikeouts. Like, they have a great staff. They saw Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a really, really good lineup. But, I mean, they saw State. State's a really good lineup. You look at what LSU actually stacks up there with Dylan Cruz, who's going to potentially be the number 1 overall pick. Barry's a top 10 pick. Doty's a top 2-round pick. Morgan's a top 2-round pick. Pearson, when his time comes, is going to be a pretty high draft pick. Probably top 3 rounds or so there for him. I mean, that's what you're running out there. Not many programs in college baseball have the ability to do that, and none of them that do play in Conference USA. So, like, that is going to be huge, getting those guys back. And, oh, by the way, none of them play in the A-Sun either. So it's going to be a different animal for this. Look, Kennesaw State saw Georgia Tech. They saw Georgia. I'll take LSU's lineup over those teams, and I think most of you listening would as well. So it's going to be great to have Berry and Doty back in the fold. That will help. That will help the way pitchers have to attack this lineup. But I think what was even more encouraging was you saw them create the second game against Kentucky, notwithstanding. You saw LSU create a lot of opportunity without those guys in the lineup. Even against Tennessee, they had opportunity. The big hit just didn't fall in for them when it really counted. The first game against Kentucky, he had 11 runs on 13 hits. So, I mean, that was encouraging, and now having them back, I think that gives you even more confidence going forward in this LSU lineup. They have a really good chance this weekend, but you still have to go out there and execute.
Yep, got to go out there and play the game. But like you said, LSU really deep, and to your point, what they did against Vanderbilt in that 3-game series and in that 1 inning, like not many teams that these teams have faced off with are even capable of doing that. So LSU's offense will give them a puncher's chance going forward in any game, and I'm pumped to see what Joe Barrett can do, man. I know he's been really, really streaky this year. Hopefully he's kind of come down to earth a little bit recently over there in Hoover, and he can start to heat up again when it matters most.
He had a rough go of it there as well in Hoover. But, I mean, the Vanderbilt series, I mean, you get half of that this weekend, you're going to be feeling great about what Braden Joe Barrett gives you.
I'm saying.
We're going to grab a break, come back, close out hour number 2 on the other side. This is After Further Review. Stick around.
AFR.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Join 100.7 The Tiger and Our Lady of the Lake Ascension, Saturday, June 25th at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center in Gonzales.
Enjoy live music from Ted Durr, Mike Broussard and the Night Train, and Jamie Badron and the Kickin' Cajuns. Make sure you grab a delicious plate of jambalaya from the Mike Ward's Liberty Safes Jambalaya Cook-Off to raise money for the Alzheimer's services of the capital area.
The Swamp Pop Music Festival with Supreme Chevrolet.
Louisiana's country station.
100.7 The Tiger.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Final segment here of hour number 2 on a Wednesday edition of After Further Review, presented by Pluckers. Wrap it up the same way we wrap up the second hour each day with some Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
Started off in the Bronx last night. DJ LeMahieu, really solid night at the top of the Yankee order. He returned to the Yankee order after dealing with some wrist discomfort that kept him out for a few games. He was 2 for Thor with a double, his 11th of the year, and a single. Also drove in 2 runs at the top and drew a walk, a 9-1 victory for the Yankees.
I was looking at Aaron Judge plus 800 to steal a base in that game yesterday, and I almost did it, man, but I'm happy I didn't because Aaron Judge did not steal a base, as is usually the case.
Not the fleetest of foot, Aaron Judge, that's for sure. Kevin Gausman on the bump for the Blue Jays last night. Again, 5 innings pitched, 6 runs, 3 runs. They were all earned. Walked 1, struck out 5. Got his 5th win of the season, did Gausman. Runs the record to 5-3. 98 pitches, 67 strikes for the former Tiger ace.
Shout out to Kevin. Kevin is the male equivalent of a Karen, but I'm sure Gausman is not one.
Gausman is not. That is for sure. Josh Smith in his second game for the Texas Rangers last night went 0 for. Wait a minute, those don't look like the right stats.
He got a hit.
No, not last night. He went 0 for 1. He stole a base. That was the first for Josh Smith last night. I had to find that here in the box score. So the first stolen base of Josh Smith follows up the 0 for the 3 for 4 with an 0 for 1, but he's still hitting 600 so far for his MLB career. So I think they'll keep him around a little bit there in Arlington.
Shout out to Josh Smith. I wonder if he's related to Jason Smith, the former Pelicans power forward who infamously took out Blake Griffin during a game.
I can tell you he is not.
Yeah, thank you for that information.
You are very welcome. The Houston Astros are currently in a game right now with the Oakland Athletics that my partner here might have a little action on. 3-1, Oakland leads it now in the top of the 8th inning. Alex Bregman so far on the day for Houston, 0 for 4, but did score the only run for the Astros, trying to see how he reached base. He did not walk. I'm assuming it was a fielder's choice or reach on an error. It does not say. But Bregman, 0 for 4 so far with a run scored. Finally, tonight in Major League Baseball, another former Tiger ace will toe the rubber. That is Aaron Nola. Hopefully the Phillies score runs for Aaron Nola, as we often talk about on this show. 2-4 so far on the season with a 3.56 ERA, 60 2/3 innings. He's walked just 10 and struck out 74. If you need any further evidence of the Philadelphia Phillies just refusal to score runs, it's pretty hard to have a losing record when you have an ERA of 3.5 like Aaron Nola does. So let's score some runs, Phils, and see if we can't get our guy a win.
Messing up a round.
That is Tigers and the Pros. It is brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, as it is every single day here on After Further Review. That just about puts hour number 2 in the books. We've had a really good show so far today, Mario. Talked a lot of SEC football because of the SEC spring meetings. Again, thank you to Scott Rabalais for joining the show. We talked a lot of LSU baseball in that segment. And in the next hour, we're going to talk a lot about the NFL. Jameis Winston, Saints quarterback, gave an interview to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, and he spoke about the departure of Sean Payton and had some interesting things to say. We'll let you hear from Jameis there. We'll let you hear from Jameis, or not let you hear, we'll let you know what Jameis said. It was a no audio interview. And then Aaron Donald, is he done?
Aaron Donald?
Well, Aaron Donald, we're like, that was a T-Bob joke. Good Lord.
You caught me.
That was a T-Bob joke if I've ever heard one. It's a bad influence for you in the morning, Mario.
You're not completely wrong about that.
I know I'm not. I've produced that show for a very long time, too. Look, that's all on the other side. One more hour to go here on After Further Review. Stick around.
AFR.
Auto service, ShawBillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawBillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shaw Bills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires, the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil change, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shaw Bills. Let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawBillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawBillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawBillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shaw Bills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shaw Bills credit card only at Shaw Bills.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA Finals tip-off tomorrow night in San Francisco. The Warriors and the Celtics. And ESPN's Stephen A. Smith has a prediction on this series and beyond.
I'm willing to say the Golden State Warriors are winning 2 of the next 3 titles. I believe Steph Curry will eclipse LeBron James and capture 5 championships in his career while LeBron is still stuck on 4.
Stephen A. on First Take. The NBA Finals are on ESPN Radio and ABC starting tomorrow night. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports the Nets will defer taking a first-round pick from the 76ers until next year. That pick was part of the James Harden trade. In the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, Game 1 in the East Final with the Rangers hosting the Lightning. It's at 8 Eastern on ESPN. Buffalo Bills linebacker Andre Smith gets a 6-game suspension to start the 2022 NFL season for using performance-enhancing drugs. French Open today, world number 1 Iga Swiatek beats Jessica Pegula, her 33rd straight win.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
If you Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
Final hour here of After Further Review. Musso and Mario were filling in for Scone. He is sunbathing on the beach somewhere in Destin, Florida. He will be back next Monday. Pretty good lineup of guest hosts the rest of the way this week. So obviously Brian Holland from WVLA filled in yesterday. We're in today. Former Tiger National Champion Anthony Renato will be in tomorrow, and then Ronnie Rance, Rugaran, will be here on Friday. Alondra Villarreal, Paul O'Neill, producing this show today for Mario and I, and it's been a pretty good 2 hours so far, Mario.
Yeah, man, went by pretty quick, in my opinion. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. But
there you go.
Should be a fun rest of the week here on AFR. I know Ronnie's going to have a lot to say about the Rougarou, who are kicking off their season pretty soon.
They opened their season last night, actually. First game for the Rougarou was last night against the, I think it was the Cane Cutters from Acadiana.
Shout out. I mentioned this on our show early line. Did not mention this to the AFR audience. The Pelicans were almost named the Rougarou. That was one of the finalists for the New Orleans basketball team whenever they rebranded. So the Baton Rouge Intercollegiate Baseball team got the name instead. And if I do say so myself, it's a pretty cool name.
I don't know if that would have fit the Pelicans very well.
No, just the absurdity of the name would have been cool.
Okay, yes, but I mean, NBA mascots aren't. I mean, they aren't really like fierce or anything. Like when you look, I mean, okay, Raptors is pretty cool, but I mean, a Laker. I mean, the Magic.
Did you see the first iteration of Pierre the Pelican? It was very, very scary looking. So maybe this particular franchise doesn't mind going that route.
Was it scarier than the King Cake Baby?
No.
Okay. Because nothing is. Yeah.
Nothing is scarier than the King Cake Baby.
But I mean, Rougarou maybe would have. Rougarou would have fit more in the landscape of the G League mascot realm, like where you have the Fort Wayne Mad Ants or something like that. Like that would have fit in more well there. I mean, Pelicans fits great with the rest of the. I mean, you got the Thunder, or I mean,
yeah, more recently
the Knicks. You know, I mean,
Knickerbockers.
Yeah,
not very menacing, but it's Louisiana. Yeah. It would have been cool, but like I said, at least the baseball team got the name, and Rougarou can rep them.
Absolutely. So look, let's talk some Saints here. We talked a lot of college football throughout the first 2 hours, some LSU baseball in the last hour. Let's talk Saints and NFL. Jameis Winston, we teased it there before the top of the hour break. He gave an interview to Albert Breer over at Sports Illustrated, where he discussed kind of the departure of Sean Payton and life after the departure of Sean Payton. He was asked by Breer kind of what it's been like now without Sean Payton in the locker room. And look, that was so much of the focus with Jameis Winston, was him coming to New Orleans and learning from Sean Payton and sitting behind Drew Brees and, you know, what that was going to do for his career. Everybody kind of latched on to Jameis Winston and him being in the best spot of his career. And 2 years after that, it's very different, isn't it? I mean, Sean Payton's gone. And Albert Breer posed that question to Jameis Winston, and Winston said, quote, "The quarterback room is not different at all. We just don't have Sean busting in the room with mad genius plays. That's the only difference. It's a little quieter." Which Mickey Loomis kind of made the same joke as well around the draft. You know, how was the draft process different with Sean Payton? And Mickey said quieter. But Jameis would continue. "I get to learn this offense, really learn this offense, and I get to build with Pete and Ronald Curry on what we're going to do. We get to see what we're going to be good at, and we can plan to execute that way." Like, that's the best part about this OTAs, getting a chance to really go through these installs, learn the ins and outs of these concepts with your coaches, with Pete, who's been doing this for 16 years, instead of me just learning by myself or having to sneak a text to Drew Brees on how he sees something.
Sneak a text to Drew Brees. That's a pretty valuable option to have right there. And that's a pretty big difference, not having Sean Payton busting in with his genius plays that have been proven to be pretty genius the last few years. Sean Payton, one of the best coaches in the NFL. But it's interesting kind of reading between the lines here, Musso, because I think Jameis, as he said, really valued Brees' presence. He really valued the fact that he got to play for Sean Payton and got a year in this system, but maybe he feels like they'll turn him loose a little bit more this year. I mean, they went and got the receiver help with Landry and with Olave. And the big thing with Jameis Winston that I noticed when he was playing under Sean Payton is he was somewhat conservative. And maybe that's because of who the Saints had at wide receiver. Maybe if you had these guys on the field, that becomes different. But Jameis Winston, as a high volume passer, put up a lot of yards, but it wasn't really conducive to the team winning games. Last year, not as big of a volume, right? But the numbers looked good. Really efficient, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. You lean on the defense. You lean on Kamara and Murray and whoever's running the ball. But I'm curious to see if they don't go back to at least a little bit of the Jameis Winston that we saw in Tampa that is turning it loose a little bit more, especially if you think about the fact that Kamara is going to miss time. So yeah, I think you will see Jameis maybe turn it loose a little bit more, reading between the lines. Maybe he's more excited about this specific playbook. And I know he's more excited about the fact that he doesn't have to split reps with Taysom Hill, which he had to do the last few years. So Jameis seems pretty excited to play for Pete Carmichael and ultimately for Dennis Allen. Curious to see how it winds up.
The non-splitting reps with Taysom Hill is a phenomenal point because it's finally just his job, right? And I mean, Jameis, it's been said that he's a little bit more motivated potentially now, maybe that it's his job. I know Dennis Allen has been asked that question. I mean, you've seen others ask that question in interviews from people who cover the Saints. I don't really think it can be debated. I mean, the Saints offense is, I think, what most people are excited to see this year, right? We all expect the defense to kind of really not skip a beat. I mean, they brought in Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah, you lose Marcus Williams. You lose Malcolm Jenkins. Like, those are big pieces you have to replace, but everyone's fired up about Tyrann Mathieu. You still have DeMario Davis. Like, Cam Jordan's still there. You feel good about the depth along the defensive line. You still have Lattimore. You got a Debo, Bradley Roby. Like, that, and ultimately you still have Dennis Allen, obviously, right, too. So, sure, it'll be interesting to see the co-defensive coordinator model, but Dennis Allen's probably going to still call plays, so I don't think we expect that to miss a beat. The offense is where everybody's intrigue lies because they being Dennis Allen, been adamant that we're going to do it my way. We're not going to change a lot. From the moment he took to the podium and accepted this job, that's what he said. And look, you keep Pete Carmichael in the fold. You bring back guys with experience with the Saints, under Sean Payton even in that realm. And now you have Jameis Winston here. And maybe he's just saying all the right things, right? But they've been really good at doing that throughout this process. I mean, you go back to Dennis Allen, like we just said, we're not going to change anything. We're doing my way. We're not going to change anything. But you have Jameis Winston here saying the only difference is, Sean's not busting in with the plays. We've seen Pete Carmichael call this offense before in Sean Payton's absence, and it worked out really well. Now, again, that was with Drew Brees at the helm, and maybe they do turn Jameis Winston loose. But if they're just saying all the right things right now, they're doing a pretty darn good job of it. But eventually, you're going to have to put the product out on the field.
And ultimately, it's going to kind of fall down on Winston and on Dennis Allen because that's kind of the only difference about last year's team, right? Or when you compare it to last year's team. Like, they got better offensively, but at the end of the day, the Saints are stacked on defense. And now with the receivers that they have, a lot of people would argue that they're stacked on offense. But you have a quarterback who had a long time as a starter in Tampa Bay and had a pretty talented team, you could argue, on both sides of the ball. Did not have success. And Dennis Allen, yes, he's a lot more experienced. Yes, he's worked under Sean Payton now for the last few years, but he as a head coach too in the NFL had his chance and ultimately he failed. So some people nationally that have pause about this team, that's what's given them pause. The fact that you have Winston and you have Allen at the helm. But just based on the roster from top to bottom, the Saints look pretty good in most areas. I mean, maybe you can argue like tight end and some other areas are a whole, but top to bottom, the team looks good. It's just, can Allen, succeed in that role as a head coach? And can Jameis Winston, possibly with some added responsibilities, possibly with the Saints turning him loose a little bit more, succeed as a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, and look, they were turning him loose a little bit more before the injury.
The Tampa game specifically.
Yeah. Oh, and he was running the ball in that game, which was wild to see. But even it started the kind of in the Washington football against the Washington football team, now the Commanders. You saw him take some deep shots, and yeah, for sure that Tampa Bay game they were turning him loose. You do that a little bit with him. What was it was on Early Line, the show we host prior to this one. We were discussing the guy over at a sports book that put a bet on Jameis to lead the league in passing yards. Like, that's the potential that we know he has. And if Jameis Winston's leading the league in passing yards, the Saints are going to be a lot more than a playoff team.
You would think, but you also have to factor like defense, time, possession, stuff like that. And I'm curious to see how much time Kamara misses and where exactly in the season that will be, because that will influence kind of where the Saints want to go with Jameis Winston and how they want to structure certain things. But like I said, at the end of the day, this is a great team. They have some really good leadership, and you've even added some now with going out to get Tyrann Mathieu and Landry. But like I said, Allen and Winston are going to face some challenges this year that they have not faced the last couple of years without Sean Payton in the room. And that's just on game day. We don't know about all the kind of little intricacies that happen in that building, the whole week. So those two guys, I think, are in a much better place to succeed. Like Jameis has seen a lot. Dennis Allen was young and not ready by his own admission when he got hired by the Raiders. But those guys still got to step up and prove that they can do it on a team that's had a lot of success recently.
Kamara is going to be really important. You're not wrong there. And when and where it happens. I mean, apparently that investigation is moving a little slower, and maybe it won't be at the start of the season. But running back in general for the Saints is just a very interesting position right now because, look, when I was filling in for Matt on Friday, I talked a little bit about this, and Ross Jackson joined me, and he talked a little bit about it as well. It just kind of feels, at least to me, remember how we all kind of looked at receiver last year in the preseason, where it was looked upon as such a huge need from fans, from media. They got to get. I mean, Mike Thomas isn't going to be back. You have to get somebody. Can you really go in there with Marquez Callaway, with Deontay Hardy? Can you really go in with those guys? It's a huge position of need. But every time you talk to Mickey Loomis or Sean Payton, they just kind of said, we like that room more than most. That kind of feels like running back right now. You had the Sony Michel flirtation. You've looked at a couple other options. You haven't done much there, but Mark Ingram's aging. Kamara's going to be suspended at some point this year. Tony Jones got hurt last year, and you never really saw him again. Is it one of those situations where they just kind of like that room a little bit more than everybody else, or is there still something more to come there? I think that's the most fascinating position left here in the offseason.
Yeah, and Allen and Loomis building the team, it's clear that you have to have a deficiency somewhere, and they're, confident that they can make up for that with whatever else, whether it be Allen's coaching ability or whatever, and that was the logic for Sean Payton as well. Not even recently, but just kind of in the last 5 or 6 years or so. I mean, think about the trade for Jimmy Graham. You had an all-world tight end that statistically was one of the best to play the position that year, and you traded him to get an offensive lineman. And that was kind of the philosophy of the team for the last few years. But now Dennis Allen's trying to build it in a different way. And yes, maybe you are, a little deficient at running back, but you're 5 or 6 deep at wide receiver. You got Landry and Mike Thomas and Olave, and we're not even getting into Harris and Callaway, who have both shown they can be solid receivers in the NFL. So they're a little deficient there. Maybe somebody like an Abram Smith, undrafted from Baylor, will surprise us. But all teams will have deficiencies somewhere. It's clear that Allen and Mickey Loomis both are cool with running back being that for the time being.
Abram Smith is somebody who's getting a lot of run so far, and we've heard his name a lot. It feels like. I mean, again, when Ross Jackson was with me on Friday here, that was one of the names he brought up. That is somebody that's getting a lot of run, is Abram Smith. But look, the offense, man, for me, and I think for most, that's going to be the most intriguing thing to see when the Saints take the field against the Atlanta Falcons to open up the NFL regular season here in September. Grab our first break of hour number 2. Come back with more AFR next. Join us then.
AFR
Network of Louisiana. For years, I've told you so many examples of your friends and neighbors, our listeners, who have called Insurance Network of Louisiana. This process is so easy. I don't want it to be intimidating because sometimes people think insurance, I don't know, I don't know what my coverage is, I haven't looked at it in so long. Don't be intimidated. At Insurance Network of Louisiana, the guys and gals over there are awesome, and they can walk you through the entire process. It's easy. It starts with one phone call. You call Insurance Network of Louisiana, they take a little bit of information, and then they go shop. They do all the work for you. And then they'll come back with you and let you know if they were able to find you better coverage for less money. It's basically like this, the analogy I give. Would you hire an agent if you were an athlete that could only negotiate with one team? Or would you rather hire an agent that can negotiate the best deal among all the teams? That's Insurance Network of Louisiana. 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
My own people call me an Uncle Tom. I play music. Been wined and dined by royalty. Trying to bring people together. All people. But regardless of all that kind of stuff, I'm still Louis Armstrong.
Here's the man you're waiting for, the king of jazz, Louis Satchmo Armstrong.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one but two NMEA certified techs. Family owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years. Front to Back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
If home is where the heart is, a roof is a shield. That's why for over 25 years, South Louisiana always turns to Garcia Roofing and Sheet Metal. For more information, visit Garcia.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Love telling you about GMFS Mortgage because I love telling you about great people that can help you change your life financially. That's what GMFS Mortgage does every single day. GMFSmortgage.com. Maybe it's helping you as a family build wealth by realizing the American dream of home ownership. You own your own home. You start to build equity in that home. You start to build wealth. GMFS Mortgage can help you do that. Maybe you own your home, and with the economy doing what it's done here in the last year plus, you've had to tighten the belt a little bit. 7% inflation? My goodness. What if you could lower your monthly mortgage payment? You essentially give yourself a raise by lowering how much you pay every month on your mortgage. You can do it by refinancing your mortgage. When we refinanced our mortgage, we skipped 2 payments because of how they scheduled closing. What if you could skip 2 mortgage payments and lower your monthly mortgage payment? That would absolutely help you financially. GMFSmortgage.com. They can help. Find a local loan officer nearest you at GMFSmortgage.com. GMFS Mortgage. Changing lives.
Back here on After Further Review, Wednesday show presented by Pluckers. Hour number 3, Musso and Mario filling in for Matt Moscona, who is vacationing. A couple of interesting storylines to get into in the NFL here in this segment as well, Mario. Let's start in the NFC South as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed a very familiar name to Saints fans. It is former Chicago Bears and New Orleans Saints. Defensive tackle Akeem Hicks. He has signed a 1-year deal worth up to $10 million, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter today.
Man, Musso, if Moscona was here, he would make some kind of joke about you smoking weed and coughing over there. So I feel like I need to say that 420 was an hour ago. So, like, what you doing, man?
Because I got high.
Wow.
Hell yeah, Alondra. That's some good producer work right there. And, yeah, I guess it is because you got high, Musso. Get it together, man.
I didn't. Moscona would be very proud of both of you, so take that for what it's worth. I mean, that says a lot if you're making him proud for torturing me with this false narrative that he continues. But such is life here from 3 to 6 for Matt Musso.
Keep enjoying your vacation, Moscona. Stop getting so high, Musso. But back to Akeem Hicks.
Yeah, Akeem Hicks.
He was a great player for the Saints for a long time. They kind of just didn't want to pay him. No other excuse there. Then he goes to Chicago, becomes like an all-world, all-pro player for those guys. And I've watched a lot of the Chicago Bears defense the last few years because that was my team for the longest time in fantasy football. And as a unit, they have kind of suffered. But Akeem Hicks has been really good. And last year, he dealt with some injury problems. He only played in 9 games, but he's getting $10 million from Tampa Bay, which goes to show you what they kind of think about him. Also, on the flip side, that probably means that Tampa is not going to re-sign Ndamukong Suh, somebody who the Saints have had interest in the past. And if it's somebody you can bring in on maybe a lower price tag, I would not be surprised if Dennis Allen and the Saints maybe explored that. But on the surface, it does seem to be a good pickup for Tampa Bay. But I don't know how much of an upgrade he is over Suh, honestly. Suh still played in 16 games last year. Hicks only played in 9 and is getting older in age. So it seems like a good pickup, but I'm curious to see if he could stay on the field.
That's the one question, because when he's been on the field, he's been productive. But I mean, just the games he's missed in the last few seasons is definitely troubling. I mean, obviously, he's missed 20 games over the past 3 years due to injuries. But you take last year, he was in there for 9, and in those 9s, 3.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, over 20 tackles. Those are good numbers for 9 games. So while he was out there, he was very productive. It's just, can he stay on the field? I'm with you. I don't know if he's an upgrade over Suh. Suh was still playing really, really well and was staying on the field. But, I mean, I think it's a move that a lot of Saints fans particularly will look at, knowing how familiar they are with Akeem Hicks, and say, man, that's a problem.
Old Caesar Ruiz, going to see this man 2 times a year now. Better be ready. Better pack that lunchbox.
That is for sure. You know who he may not see is Aaron Donald when the Saints go play in L.A. later this year. Aaron Donald apparently would call it a career and be okay with that. That is from the man's own mouth. He was on the I Am Athlete podcast and indicated that his return is totally dependent on a new deal with the Los Angeles Rams, and that if they don't agree to a new contract, he would be, quote, at peace with his career.
This is somebody who's been in the league 8 years and has made the Pro Bowl for 8 years. He's a 7-time All-Pro member. He now has a Super Bowl ring. He's done pretty much all you can do in the NFL. And if you listen to that whole interview that he did with LaShawn McCoy on his podcast there, he was talking about how his plan coming into the NFL from Pitt 8 years ago was to play for 8 whole years. Like, no matter what, he was probably going to retire after this season. But after the Rams won the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford and everybody that they brought in, he said that he's now kind of addicted to the feeling of winning Super Bowls. So that's the only reason why he's even considering coming back. And maybe they agree on a price, maybe not. But he's saying he's going to be fine regardless. And honestly, I hope he does not come back, because he and Andrew Whitworth are like the only 2 people on the Rams that I was actually rooting for. Everybody else can kick rocks, as you and Moscona say. So I hope he's not back, and I think there's a real chance that he won't be. Maybe more than likely, you would think they come to some kind of agreement, but looking at all the Rams already have on the payroll, considering the fact that they already lost Von Miller, maybe they're not able to come to a resolution. But I think Aaron Donald's right. He's going to be fine either way. He's accomplished everything there is to accomplish in the National Football League.
So I get it. Like, and I totally understand. I mean, the guy's been defensive MVP, the Super Bowl, like everything you said. I get it. He played the number of years he wanted to. Guys are retiring earlier now from the NFL. I get all of it. But my main question is, what would a new deal look like? Like, if that's what this is totally hinges upon, is him getting a new deal with the Los Angeles Rams, what does that look like? Because his current contract was 6 years, $135 million. Like, Aaron Donald's still the best defensive player in the league. TJ Watt had a great season. He's a phenomenal pass rusher. Aaron Donald is 31 years old and is still producing 84 tackles and 12.5 sacks from an interior defensive line position. Like, the production has not dropped off. You compare that to 2020, he only had 45 tackles, so he increased that, and he dropped his sack total by 1 full sack from 13.5 to 12.5. So if you're the Rams, you're still going to have to pay him. And, I mean, at 6 years, 135 right now, he ain't taking a discount. He's still super productive. So that's kind of my question. If that's really what it hinges on, what does that deal look like? Like, what is Aaron Donald after in terms of money if he's, quote, at peace with his career?
I would think that he just wants to feel like respected. He doesn't need to be the top paid tackle in the league at this point in his career. Maybe he does feel that way. I don't know, but I would just think that 8 years in his career, he wants to get paid like technically what he's worth. And like you said, the contract already is really hefty. The only other defensive tackle whose contract is valued over $100 million is Fletcher Cox from the Eagles, who has a 6-year deal for $102 million. So maybe around that range would be what Aaron Donald's looking for, but I think even independent of the money, like just going by his legacy, when you think of Aaron Donald's career, he's accomplished in 8 years what a lot of guys can't do in 16. Like, I broadcast a lot of good games for a lot of good NFL teams that faced off against the Saints. And Aaron Donald, I can tell you definitively, is one of the best players, if not the best player I've seen on an NFL football field. So that's his legacy right now. It's clear that he's okay with it, and he's going to be at peace regardless of what the Rams decide to do. It's more up to McVay and Snead and those guys. Do they think it's time to turn the page on Aaron Donald, or do you think that you still need him in the immediate future to do what you want to do as a franchise?
And for what it's worth, Sean McVay was asked today about those comments from Aaron Donald and said, quote, "We've had great dialogue. The goal all along has been to try to get this thing figured out. But if there's anyone that has earned the right to be able to make the decision on their own terms after what he's done, what he's meant to me, our team, it's Aaron." Man, come a long way from that Super Bowl parade where he was chanting "Run it back," yeah?
Yeah, Sean
That'll be brought up.
Sean McVay definitely changing his tune a little bit here, and that should be brought up. But just think about where Aaron Donald kind of stands in the pantheon of Rams players. Like, he was there for the bad times too. 2013 when he was still drafted and they were in St. Louis. They had a lot of lean years. So right now, this is possibly the best time to go out on top. Quite literally ride off into the sunset if you're Aaron Donald. So that's something that I'm going to be considering too when it comes to his future.
That's true. I mean, it's just, this is something that was talked about even before the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Is this going to be the end for Aaron Donald? Man, that's crazy to see. It's always crazy to see somebody go out kind of at the top of their game. It just doesn't happen very often. But Aaron Donald certainly has the chance. I think I'd actually be surprised if they don't reach a deal. I think they're going to get something done. Now, I'll be also very interested to see the length of it. I mean, that tells you how much he's going to really want to play. I mean, is it going to be another 6 years? Probably not.
Yeah. And he would give them, I don't think, like a discount, but consider that this is the team that drafted you. They already gave you that record contract. So, like, you don't want to do a Kobe Bryant and hamper the future for years to come for your team, too. So that's going to be an advantage for the Rams as well. But it just seems like he's really at peace, man. And why wouldn't he be with what the team already did and everything he's been through? So I would not be a surprise.
But still playing so close to the top of his game. Like, you got to give the man what he's worth.
That is also true. But like you said, that's a trend of players retiring earlier and just wanting to live a different lifestyle. Sean Payton even did it as a coach.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a great point. Although Sean's retired for now. I mean, we'll see.
For now. And if you get a chance, maybe Paul O'Neill could bring it up in the next segment. But Marpet, the guard that retired from the Buccaneers, he has lost so much weight since he stopped playing. And he looks like he's so much happier living life the way that he is right now. So I know that these guys are used to doing it. These are their lifestyle, but this is their lifestyle. But there's a lot to be said for the post-football life, too. And Aaron Donald might be considering that.
That is, I mean, I think he absolutely is. We'll grab a break, come back on the other side with more after further review. Come back with us.
AFR.
I am so thrilled to welcome Schutz Electric to the AFR family. Generac automatic standby generators. When the power goes out, your Generac home standby generator from Schutz Electric goes to work. CESofLA.com. CESofLA.com. Last year during Ida, we lost power for nearly a week. So many of you lived that again. That was the last straw for me and my family. Actually, it was the last straw for Erica. She was like, get a generator. So we did. We got an automatic standby generator from Generac over with the folks at Schutz Electric. And the great thing about Schutz is last year after Ida, when generators were so hard to come by and everybody was trying to get them, John Schutz did an amazing thing. He went and bought a whole bunch of them, even though they were on months-long order. Well, now they have a ton of inventory, and they are ready to install, and they only use in-house installers. It's more affordable than you think. for a Generac home standby generator from Schutz Electric. Look them up online, cesofla.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar.
Further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And all throughout the NBA playoffs, of course, the finals are almost upon us. All throughout the NBA playoffs, remember, bet just $5 on any NBA playoff game, and if the team you bet on wins, they'll give you $150 in free bets, boom, instantly. But you got to use the promo code Baton Rouge. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the promo code Baton Rouge. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the promo code Baton Rouge, bet just $5 on an NBA playoff game. If it hits, you get $150 in free bets. Also, if you're not a new customer, same game parlays. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. If one of your legs doesn't hit, no worries. They'll refund you $25 in a free bet only at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Availability varies by parish. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full terms and conditions. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-7-STOP.
All right. Well, a couple more segments here to go. We will have Jimmy Ott in the final segment for Otter Locks. So plenty of action to get to tonight. Some late Major League Baseball games the Otter might be keyed in on. I'm sure you have some early thoughts on the NBA Finals. Got some
I'm
hockey.
off Major League Baseball today, man.
I'm sorry, Mario. I did not want to tell you that. in the last break, but I saw it. I'm sorry. Mario had a play on the Astros A's game, and it lost in the last break.
Thanks for nothing, Bregman. Watching too many Will Stout videos, getting a little too pumped up there.
Well, hey, well, I mean, yeah, I guess he kind of did hurt your cause.
Yeah.
But he scored another run and drove it in a run, but yeah, you didn't need that.
Still pumped to talk to Jimmy. Worked with Jimmy for a number of years. Influenced my broadcasting to a degree. Love that man.
He is one of a kind, the Otter, that's for sure. So we look forward to getting plays from Jimmy Ott in Otterlocks here to wrap up the show. But we do have one more segment to go before we get there. Mario, any strong opinions on anything?
Yeah, so haven't talked much Pelicans recently. They got eliminated in the first round, but a lot of people are excited for the future, right? All the rookies played so well, Murphy and Alvarado and Herb Jones, and you're going to have Brandon Ingram back, NBA All-Star. Didn't make the team, but he should have. He's an NBA All-Star in my mind. And you might get one Zion Williamson back in the fold. And there's a little bit of drama, at least in the minds of some people in the media, like Brian Windhorst, who are watching the studio right now. But Charles Barkley had some opinions about Zion and the Pelicans and the fact that they have not agreed on a max extension yet. And Charles Barkley told our guy, Dan Patrick, who Dan Patrick has so many good guests on his show.
Love Dan Patrick.
He told Dan Patrick, Bartley did, if somebody told me they were getting ready to give me $200 million, I'd be the skinniest power forward in the history of civilization. Now, I love Charles Barkley. I know he kind of says some stuff, hyperbole. He's on TV, big women in San Antonio, all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff he says in jest, and I understand that. Still love Charles Barkley. But this is a little hypocritical. Charles Barkley, round, mound, rebound, didn't always have his weight all the way under control. And coming into the league, he admitted this. This is Charles Barkley's words, not mine. He admitted that he intentionally gained weight, got fat, got himself out of shape, so the Philadelphia 76ers would not draft him. They ended up drafting him, and he was really out of shape, obviously, early on in his rookie year. And he had a veteran teammate named Moses Malone who kind of sat him down, had a come to Jesus talk with him, and told him, hey, man, you got to get your stuff together. You're fat. And this franchise needs you to not be fat. They need you to be good. And he's going after Zion and his weight now. And Zion, in his defense, did not have a Moses Malone to kind of lean on. He had Stan Van Gundy and other people that shouldn't have been in situations of that kind of power. So I love Charles Barkley, but going after Zion for his weight, a little weak, a little hypocritical from Sir Charles.
I think we got to chill with the Zion weight stuff.
A little bit.
I mean, you can the guy's in better shape than he was, before the season started. Like, I mean, that was bad, but you could clearly look at him and see that he's obviously done some work and rehab and whatnot and gotten in better shape. I mean, if only they had actual basketball games to talk about right now instead of Zion Williamson's weight or LeBron James. I mean, what a world that would be. Oh, wait, the NBA Finals start on Thursday.
Oh man, and I'm so upset about the fact that the TNT crew can't do the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah, because they're great.
Yeah, they're so much better than the ESPN coverage, man. You got the pregame talking about the Lakers and LeBron's legacy and stuff. Let's talk about the actual game and make some jokes along the way. So I'm a little upset that the TNT crew isn't doing the finals, but I will say that I'm very, very glad that the Pelicans are kind of in better shape just as a franchise right now going forward. And I don't think we'll see as many Zion Williamson fat jokes this summer. But I do hope they agree on the extension soon. That is a legitimate story, but I think ultimately they will. But until they are, they're going to fan the flames there a little bit.
I think they're going to get it done. I mean, it feels like when the Sixers gave Joel Embiid the extension, it wasn't max, and there were, clauses in there of, you got to play this many games and then this and this many games. And that's fair. Like, that is fair up to this point in Zion's career. Now, you could also throw the other side of the coin there and obviously be like, you and your load management, New Orleans Pelicans, kind of kept him off the floor from some games. And that's fair too. But I think them taking a while to get it done is not necessarily a bad sign. I think it just proves that there's going to be other things that go into this other than just, hey, Zion, here's the max, sign here, big fella. Like, that's not where you're going with this. There's going to have to be some compromise involved in it, and there should be. And that's the fair way for both sides, I think, in this.
Of course. And you had to be at least a little bit stubborn. You know, he's missed more games than he's played in. Him and his agent are going to say, yeah, when I did play, I averaged 27 points per game.
Yeah.
And I shot 62% from the field. But you need to take care of yourself a little bit if you're the Pelicans. And they're going to show Steph Curry, you know, as past reference. They're going to show Joel Embiid as past reference. Those guys kind of had to bite the bullet on their first contract, which was very incentive-laden. But obviously they met those incentives, and now we're talking about two of the best players in the entire NBA. So the Pelicans should be careful here, but at the same time, David Griffin, don't try to be smarter than everybody else in the room. You have to ensure that you get them locked up, you get the extension before this season starts. You can't risk, like what happened in Phoenix, happening to you with DeAndre Ayton, and things can go sour really quick. You want to have him in the fold, and hopefully they are able to come to a deal here. But until then, Charles Barkley needs to chill out because he was also really fat when he was Zion's.
My guy taking aim at Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, that's super hypocritical, man.
He called him fat, Mario.
And like I said, I think the Moses Malone angle of the story is very important. He gives him a lot of credit. Zion early on did not have that leadership, or at least there was nobody that he respected in that room. But now you have guys that are his age who arguably have contributed more to the franchise than he has already, in Trey Murphy and Alvarado and all these guys. And Willie Green has had a lot of success as an NBA head coach without Zion. So he needs to decide whether or not he wants to be part of this, and eventually he needs to make some compromise too. But at the end of the day, I would be shocked if they don't come to some kind of agreement.
It'll be interesting to watch the rest of this offseason. That's for sure. There's never a dull moment in Louisiana sports, whether it's in New Orleans or Baton Rouge or really anywhere. It's just always entertaining. Something's always going on.
Yeah, man, you got all these Louisiana teams in the baseball tournaments, and you'll be able to bet
Four
on
of them.
Yeah,
How about that, man?
Be able to bet on them in the next couple of days. You got training camp coming up for the Saints. You're gonna have boots on the ground reporting there soon. So this is an exciting time. I think June is kind of an underrated month. Like, I used to think of June as a boring month, even in you know, this setting and what we do in sports talk. But honestly, it's one of the best months just because of everything that is not only starting in the games, but everything that's getting ready to start, including football season, which I'm jacked up for.
It's always football season.
Hell yeah.
It's never too early. It's always football season, especially around these parts. Grab our final break, come back on the other side, wrap it up with Otter Locks. What are we betting on tonight? Jimmy will tell us next here on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, and Bluebonnet. Dine in or carry out 24 flavors of award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold draft beer, full-service bar, and sports on TV. What more could you possibly want? How about sandwiches? Well, they've got those. What about salads? Pluckers actually has really underrated salads. Giant, gorgeous, fresh salads. You can actually eat healthy at Pluckers. Or you could just binge. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings tossed in your favorite sauce. You want to create your own menu item? Do it. They encourage the creativity. Great sides as well, like the cheese fries, the El Guapo dip, maybe the homemade blue cheese potato chips, holy macaroni, fried pickles. They got it all at Pluckers. Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. The best place to watch the game, which game? Any game, is at Pluckers, because you can eat wings, drink beer, and watch sports on TV. Remember, at Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years. Front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Kids have staked out their place at Ochsner Medical Complex The Grove, where more than 30 pediatricians and pediatric specialists are all conveniently located under one roof, so you can spend less time driving and more time keeping your kids well. Kids! It's no wonder kids call dibs at The Grove. Ochsner Health Center for Children.
Join 100.7 The Tiger and Our Lady of the Lake Ascension, Saturday, June 25th at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center in Gonzales.
Enjoy live music from Ted Durr, Mike Broussard and the Night Train, and Jamie Badron and the Kickin' Cajuns. Make sure you grab a delicious plate of jambalaya from the Mike Ward's Liberty Safes Jambalaya Cook-Off to raise money for the Alzheimer's services of the capital area.
The Swamp Pop Music Festival with Supreme Chevrolet,
Louisiana's country station.
100.7 The Tiger.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law offices of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Final segment here on After Further Review. You know what we do. We go out to Jimmy Ott, the Otter. We find out what we're betting on tonight during Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Bocage Barbershop in Bocage Village. Serving the Bocage, Goodwood, and Town Center area since 1959.
So we welcome on Jimmy Ott right now. Otter, how are you doing?
ESPN radio in my ear, too, but we'll manage through it. Y'all hear me okay?
I got you, Otter.
Loud and clear, my friend.
Okay.
Otter, are you there?
It's just real loud. I'll just roll through it. Bear with me here. Let me get on. So, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. In Major League Baseball tonight, Yankees in the Angels. Angels have lost 6 in a row. Wrong is what? Jeez. All right. Yankees have lost 6 in a row.
6 in a row. Jeez, you're right.
I'm sorry. The Angels have lost 6 in a row. I'm completely thrown off. Yankees are streaky. Kind of found their bats last out. Nestor Cortez, one of the better pitchers in the American League this year. $1.77, a little high maybe, but not so high. You know, Detmers, you take away that no hitter, and man, his numbers are not so great. Pretty pedestrian after that. So I like the Yankees, but I don't want to lay that number. So what I'm going to do? Not many people are going to do this, huh, Musso? But we'll go bet the Yankees, Boston Red Sox parlay.
Oh.
The two rivals. I like them tonight. Green, look, we're enamored with that 100-mile-per-hour fastball. He's going to be a great prospect. Now, he's got to develop more pitches than just two, which he currently has. But he's been getting hit pretty good, minus his 1 8-inning no-hitter in Pittsburgh at PNC earlier. Whitlock's been pretty good. They're trying to stretch him out a little bit more. But I just think that Cincinnati and Green's control issues in Fenway, you just get free base runners. I'm not laying 220, that's for sure. But I will bet a Yankees-Boston parlay at basically even money plus just a tad. So that's one of them. The second one is Detroit in Minnesota. Keep in mind that the spring training was cut short just a little bit because of the work stoppage. So the first start or two was almost like what that would be during spring training. So a lot of times where they have struggled with major league pitchers, have struggled in their first two and then have rolled, I'm kind of throwing those out. And that's what I'm doing with Tyler Skubal here. 2.44 ERA, but after the first start where it was really rough, he's well below 2. And but the bullpen, it can be a little bit of a concern. Tyler Skubal and the Detroit first 5 in that one. So first 5 with Detroit and also Boston and the Yankees a parlay. Hadn't heard anything from Colucci yet, but Randy McKay, professional gambler in Denver, he likes the Rangers in Game 1 tonight, plus the 110.
Where are you tonight, Otter?
With snow, Seafood Steak, Airline Highway, and Highway 74. Rain has passed on through, so come on by and see us.
Y'all get out there and see Jimmy. I gotta say, a Yankees Red Sox parlay, Otter. I mean, that's
I know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I
know how it is. You know, we discussed a lot the Texas Tampa Bay game. The Rangers for the first time are 500 this year. Josh Smith has had the 3 hits in his first 2 games. Spriggs, though, is a guy that they're stretching out, and he's been really, really good, and it concerns me a little bit. So kind of staying away from that one. But I do like Texas right now, and I do like Tampa Bay's pitcher, but not going against each other. And maybe a little bit of a lean on the over in Camden Yards where Bradish and Ray. Ray, the Cy Young year last year was more the outlier than the norm for him. He's back to pitching just kind of so-so with a 4.75 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP. So over 8.5 is consideration there.
We got a couple minutes left, Otter. Any early thoughts on the finals, NBA finals?
Yeah, I like Boston, and I took a little bit of a shot when Boston was down 3-2 against Milwaukee. I thought they had a chance. I thought it was a 50-50 game, them going into Milwaukee and winning Game 6. And then I thought they would cruise if they could, and they have. So, and at 10-1. But I still think this is close. You're getting Golden State money in this series, and it's driven the price up. So I think Boston at plus money, plus $1.35, plus $1.40 is definitely worth a swing here if you hadn't bet it already, because this is sort of a pick'em series to me. Great defensive team in Boston and a really good offensive team, like we know. And then now Golden State can be inconsistent offensively, as of late. But I think that Boston is certainly more battle tested. Man, they had a rough road from the Nets and the Nets, the Bucks, and the Heat. That's been a rough road to get here. So I think more battle tested against a little bit more rested team in Golden State. But my money on the series and on Game 1 is going to be on Boston.
Jimmy Ott, he follows us here on 104.5 ESPN. Jimmy Ott's Game Time. Jimmy Ott's Game Time Facebook page is over at Snow's Seafood and Steak. Y'all get over there and see him. Otter, we appreciate it as always. Have a great show.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. That is Jimmy Ott. Just about wrapping it up here, Mario. Wednesday edition of After Further Review. We made it through another 4 hours straight of live radio.
Hell yeah.
Between early line and now AFR.
Well done, my friend. I enjoyed it. And as we wrap up the show, what I learned today was that Jimmy likes the Celtics. And we got to come on here and make a pick tomorrow, man, ahead of Game 1. And I got to say, I'm pretty conflicted because the Warriors' experience, Steph's legacy, all that stuff is making it really hard for me to bet against them. But the universe is giving me signs for Boston here, including Jimmy's pick. So we'll see where I land tomorrow.
Celtics have looked good, man, all the way back from when they closed the regular season as strong as they did. Boston has looked really, 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 really good. So it's just, I'm kind of with Jimmy too. Game 1's interesting to me though, man, because Golden State's been so good at home, especially this postseason too, and they got the rest factor. I don't know. Otter, hey, who am I to doubt the Otter though, man? I mean, it's the Otter. So
10 seconds, what you learned?
I wasn't ready for that at all. That's what I learned, that I was not ready for that. Anthony Renato hosting tomorrow. Y'all be back for then.
AFR.
An Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, I mean, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEYE.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEYE.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $5,000 off the new 2022 Wagoneer. We have Wagoneers in stock with $5,000 off. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
The best things in summer are unofficial. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. At Louisiana